no point would I ever consider not being a fan of the team.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
Finally!
This is Hanging with Hennig.
I have friends everywhere.
On 97.3 ESPN Radio, South Jersey.
In New Jersey. Am I right? Yeah.
Live feed on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
It seems to run on some form of electricity.
Well, you're not wrong.
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together.
Now, here's your host.
He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Josh Hennig.
Saturday, back in the 97.3 ESPN studios. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN. 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank in Sea Isle City. And we are live as always on YouTube and X in the Dr. Squat virtual studio. Joining me in the literal studio for the next 3 hours, sporting his Philly dad hat. So we thank Kevin Durso's wife for letting him away from the family today to join us. 97.3 ESPN.com Flyers insider Kevin Durso. But also, for those who don't know, Kevin is a 4 for 4. He is a guy who follows all the Philly sports teams, and we're glad to have him on board the show as I attempt to get this thing to work. Kevin, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Josh. This is a trip for me. Like I was telling people once we solidified this, and this has been a long time coming. We've been talking about this for weeks at this point. I haven't done anything more than maybe a half-hour spot on the air since college. So I get to be back in a host's chair for a little bit. This is going to be interesting.
So Kevin Durso is joining us for the next 3 hours. Text board is open. Phillies with the big win. We'll get to the aftermath of the trade deadline. Obviously, Johan Duran, he is now your closer, the magnificent entrance. We will get to all of that. Also, why on God's green earth was Harrison Bader not starting last night? We'll get to that as well. Because you know what, Kevin? I have been very, 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 very critical of Dave Dombrowski over the years. But I have to admit, he might have gotten it right this time. So we'll get to that. Plus Eagles training camp. Training camp battles are underway. Billy Schwein from the locker room just before me here on 97.3 ESPN mentioned a name we have to get into. Because there's two players, Kevin, who are getting a lot of work at training camp practices. And I got to be honest with you, Kevin. I am not a fan that there's not more competition. And I'm not trying to blame anybody. I'm not trying to cast any aspersions. But I'm just saying, at some point, if you're the Eagles and you are Nick Sirianni, you keep talking about competition. Well, Nick, where's the competition? We'll get into that coming up here on 97.3 ESPN. Here's the guest lineup coming up as well on the show. Charlotte Barnes covers the Phillies for The Athletic. She'll join us at 1:25. Also, a longtime buddy of mine, covered mixed martial arts for years. He works for ESPN.com is the easiest way to put it because he covers the Atlanta Falcons. He's their beat guy. He also covers the WWE. He also covers the UFC. And he's also the author of a new book, Say Hello to the Bad Guys. Kevin, we are 29 years from the greatest heel turn in sports entertainment history. And during the run where, for you WWE fans, John Cena has become a villain in sports entertainment and pro wrestling, we are 29 years removed from Hulk Hogan's heel turn. So we'll get with Mark about, there's so much that happened in the 90s as part of the cultural zeitgeist in today's world. And you will still walk around and see people wearing NWO shirts. You will walk around and still see people wearing that attire, Kevin. So we're going to get into that with Mark Raimondi coming up at 2:25 today. And as always, folks can join the conversation at 609-403 0973. Your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. But, Kevin, here's where we got to start. Last night with the Phillies game, how much chills did you get when Johan Duran came in with that entrance?
That was awesome. That's so cool. They've had guys in the past that get that sort of intro that you just are like, do they really deserve something like that? Is it that kind of level guy? You know, we're talking about guys. I mean, they did it with Craig Kimbrell a couple years ago, and it's like, okay, yes. Kimbrell was that player over his career, but like you're watching what he was at that time. Did it have the same kind of feel? I think we tried to feel that way about Kimbrell, and then obviously that faded away by the time the playoffs rolled around. This feels different. This is a guy who you get who, first and foremost, 27 years old, under club control for 2 more years. It's like, this isn't just a trade deadline acquisition. This is a future acquisition. So he comes in with that they were obviously quick to do that. You know, look, I would love a comfortable lead as much as anybody when Turner's up there with a chance to bring home 2 more in the bottom of the 8th inning. But I like that he had a 1-run lead to go into his first save opportunity. Come in against one of the best teams in baseball this year and close out a 1-run game for a win. That's just that game overall was just huge. Like, you couldn't have scripted that any better coming out of the trade deadline.
And I think that is the biggest key of all, because you mentioned there have been guys in the past. Can I name you some of the guys from the past?
Oh, please do.
Corey Knebel.
Oh, God, I forgot about him.
Hector Neris. Sir Anthony Dominguez. Jose Alvarado. The aforementioned Craig Kimbrell. Jeff Hoffman.
Yeah.
Carlos Estevez.
Yeah.
Jordan Romano. Matt Strom has closed games for this team. This is literally the first time, I believe, in 10 years that this team has had a closer. You know what I mean? Because people might not remember, because this was not a great time in Philly sports. But there was a guy named Jonathan Papelbon.
Yeah, that's who you got to go back to at this point, right?
Papelbon was a fascinating figure, because Papelbon came here when the team started getting bad.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be part of that era of guys supposed to extend the winning window.
Yeah, he was here to squeeze the last juice out of that core, and
then
it was part of the band.
No,
it was part, right, and there was
core.
nothing left, and then he was part of an era that people would rather forget. Yeah.
So, but he was the last guy that came into a Phillies game that you were like, all right, we got something here. Here we go. Because I got to tell you, every time the Phillies have been to a World Series, the bullpen has been good.
Yeah.
That is one constant for this franchise. 1980, 1983, 1993, 2008, 2009, 2022. Every time in the last 50 years that the Philadelphia Phillies have gotten a deep World Series caliber run, it's been the bullpen. So I got to give Dave Dombrowski a ton of credit that he actually went out and traded the prospects. And Kevin, as you know from covering the Flyers, as much as you do, some of these executives, you know, and for the Flyers case, it would be Keith Jones.
Yeah.
He's the pseudo equivalent of Dave Dombrowski.
Right.
Danny Briere is probably a little more active than Preston Mattingly of the Phillies. We'll get into that a little bit later, because I got a question for all the audience out there at 609-403-0973. Josh Hennig hanging out with you here on 97.3 ESPN. Kevin Durso joining me live in the studio. You know as well as anyone that these guys treat their prospects sometimes like they are precious silver or precious gems. And it's like you're treating these guys like they're precious, but most of them never work out the way you think they are.
Yeah, it's the one sport that there's a parallel, right? Like hockey prospects, baseball prospects, they're the ones that always take the longest to make it to the major league level anyway, to the top league. It's not the same thing as drafting for the NFL or drafting for the NBA. You make a pick in the first round, and the guy's going to show up to training camp ready to make an impact. You very rarely are going to get out of the NHL or Major League Baseball a guy like, in the NHL, a recent one would be Connor Bedard. Goes straight into a lineup, makes an impact, you see it. In Major League Baseball, the closest equivalent I can find is Paul Skeens, drafted in immediate star. You don't see that very frequently. So there's a difference between those guys and then taking a player like Cooper DeJean, who the Eagles draft second round, no less, and then he's making an impact in a Super Bowl. Like, it just doesn't happen that way. So they hold it precious because of the fact that it's part of the long-term sustainability of your winning window. And I understand that, but to me, you're right. Like, the window is on the back end here. You're on the back nine of this winning window the Phillies have because you've already been at it for 4 years of being in the postseason. How much longer can you take it with the core that you have? And if you think there's an opportunity there, you can't be married to prospects that aren't going to be here for another year or two potentially, or if you're not sure if they're ready to go yet. So that's part of the equation as well.
Do you think, as I say, you cover the Flyers as intimately as you had for, 10 years now at this point?
Yeah, 11.
11 years.
Yeah.
And so you've seen different people.
Yeah.
Hold on to these prospects pretty tightly.
Oh, I've seen different people. All right.
How many?
True. Well, it's how many? I'm trying to think how many different. I think it's 3 different general managers.
Well, it's Hextall, Fletcher.
I went through
Briere.
I went through the entire Hextall and Fletcher eras, and now the Briere era.
Were you there before Hextall got there?
No, I think that his first season as Flyers GM
was your first year.
Was my first year because Craig Berube was the coach that year, and that was his last year. So he was there for 2 years. And then that's where I was going to take this was the head coaching turnover that I've had since I've covered the team is even more of a that's a longer
list.
Can
I just say, and I don't want to get too far away with the Phillies, but hockey is the stupidest sport. Like, basketball's turning into hockey right now.
Okay.
But hockey is the dumbest sport when it comes to firing coaches. Like,
oh, God, yeah.
They fire coaches like people change socks.
Yep.
Like, it's absolutely ridiculous to me.
I brought up something after that, and it was in the midst of the Flyers hiring Tocchet and a number of other coaches being out there. I think it's something like within the last 3 years, there are only like 4 or 5 coaches in the NHL that are still in the same position they were in. And you're talking 32 teams. That's how crazy that is. So I'm right there with you. I think it's nuts how often the coach gets tossed aside that quickly.
I mean, and listen, I am not a necessarily pro coach guy, but I've always said, and Mike Gill, one of the things me and Mike Gill do agree on, the fact that people want to blame the coach as much as they do has always perplexed me. Because it's like, you do realize that the players on the field still have to do their job. I never understood this idea of like, let's blame the manager for Bryce Harper striking out, or let's blame the coach for, I don't know, Joel Embiid taking a bad shot. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or let's blame, in terms of hockey, Rick Tocchet. Although they haven't coached yet, but
right.
Let's say we're going to blame Tocchet for connecting, cross-checking somebody.
Right.
Like, I never understood that concept.
Right, and there's an element to how much power the coach has over anything else. Like, I've heard Mike talk a ton about, the direction from above, that sometimes the lineup decisions aren't necessarily influenced by the manager himself, but it comes from the whole organization. Everybody's working together with that. That's a president of baseball
I feel like
operations.
That's sports in general now.
It usually is. Like, the reason why I say it usually is because I feel like there was an element toward the end of John Tortorella's time in Philadelphia where it was, just get me somebody better. I don't care who it is. I can't play this guy. Get me somebody better. That's more of a that's where I feel like there's more of a coach influence, when it's like, I feel like I can't play this guy. Get me somebody, and you're trying to put your foot down. Rob Thompson's not that guy, though. He's going to take the direction from Dave Dombrowski.
Rob Thompson has this job.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't go rogue.
Yeah.
We have literal reporting from people like Todd Zlecki of MLB.com and Matt Gill from The Athletic and, Bob Wankel from Crossing and Broad, who joins Mike Gill during the week. All these guys have talked about it with us here on 97.3 ESPN. When Joe Girardi gets fired a couple years ago, a huge reason why he got fired was because he wasn't following the script.
Yeah.
He wasn't following the plan. He kept going rogue. He kept saying, well, this is what I think we should do. And it's like, well, that's cute, but guess what? It wasn't helping you win.
Right.
Like, it's one thing, and I think this is where fans out there, and folks, you can correct me at 609-403-0973 on the text board. Josh and Kevin Durso hanging out in the Dr. Squatch virtual studio. I don't think people care if the manager makes a decision and it's right. And I think an organization is the same way. I don't think a Dave Dombrowski cares if Rob Thompson quote unquote goes off the script,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the right call. The problem with Girardi was he kept going off script, and it was always the wrong call.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say, Kevin, one of the things that, and I know this very well because I was at the PFL MMA fights last night in Atlantic City. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, one of the fighters talked about this after the fight, about how he said, people don't understand. He said, it's one thing to watch. It's another thing to be in the middle of the action.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you think something should happen, but then it doesn't, you have to understand why.
Right.
And so I go back to the point, though, the fans, I think, are becoming more educated on that. What I think fans don't understand is that, Kevin, if you and I are sitting at my sponsor yesterday's Creekside Tavern in Marmora watching the Phillies game or watching the Eagles game or watching the Sixers, I don't say Flyers because you're usually at the Flyers game.
Yeah.
But the point is that if we're watching the game and a decision is made, that everyone knows what the right decision was. You know it. I know it. Everyone listening on 97.3 knows it. Nick Earnshaw talks about it in Nick's Nuggets. Mike Gill mentioned it on the Sports Bash. Billy Schwein brings it up for 2 hours the next day on the locker room here on 97.3 ESPN. Everyone sees it.
Yeah.
But then the manager or the coach or the GM doesn't see it. I think that one infuriates people the most.
Right. And I'll do. Here's two different examples, kind of, because this is the best way I can look at it. So last Sunday when the Phillies are playing the Yankees, this is where it comes down to player execution, not necessarily decision. You're up there down by a run. You have the perfect situation in place where you have 2 on, nobody out. Johan Rojas is at the plate. You need a bunt there, and they tried it for 1 pitch and he doesn't get it down, and then after that they abandon it. That's a little bit on the player for execution there, because like after a certain point he's got to do that job. That's the call. You make the call. Now, I wouldn't abandon it after 1 pitch, but I also need the player to do the job. The situation where it comes down to a decision and it falls on necessarily a manager or whatever the script is from above, let's say, is from last night's game, from the opposite side. What are you doing, A.J. Hinch, as the Detroit Tigers manager? Your pitcher has a 1-hitter going into the 7th inning. Why are you taking Flaherty out of the game when he's dominated all night and even opening the door for that possibility to happen, for a rally to happen? Good on the Phillies for doing what they did after the fact, because you didn't solve this guy for the whole time.
But at the same time, it's also bad on the Phillies for not solving a guy who's not one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Right. And look, they're one of the better teams overall. Teams overall. Flaherty's had good moments. He's had bad moments. Like, it's kind of, he's one of those in-betweeners. It's not today's matchup by any stretch. It's not Scoop.
This might not be the best analogy.
Right.
But I always look at guys, you know, your John Flaherty's, your Jordan Hicks, who got traded to the Red Sox. Like, these pitchers with, like, uber talent, but they can't put it all together. I always look at them to make the hockey analogy. It's like a guy who's a goal scorer who, like, doesn't score for, like, a month. But you know he's a goal scorer, right? And he'll score like 12 goals in a month, right?
No, boy, you're gonna make me have the Travis Konechny argument then, because he had 2 goals in the last half of the season, but he's a 30-goal scorer, and I've seen it before. Like that's one of those. I think that's one of the things you're talking about also, is where you know it, I know it. You know what to expect from Travis Konechny after a certain point. You know what to expect from anybody else who plays at just about anywhere.
Is it bad? I was thinking more Voracek, but.
Well, maybe by this point I've like started to shift away from the Voracek comparisons, because he hasn't been here
from your mind.
Well, he hasn't been here for a little while, so that's also part of it, you know. But nonetheless, like everybody feels like they know what to expect from certain guys. It's a little bit like everybody who's in the seats thinks they know the right decision, even though they're not in the manager's chair. You know, everybody thinks that. I do it all the time. I'm sitting at home watching the game. I was sitting. That's why I brought up this decision with Flaherty. It's like, what are you doing? The guy's got a 1-hitter after 6 innings. You're going to pull him out of the game now for 1 hit to lead off the 7th inning? Let him work out of it, you know? And he was at, 95 pitches when they took him out? I don't see why you couldn't have tried to give him 1 more batter to get out of it.
Well,
or
that's another side of the conversation. I didn't watch A.J. Hinch's post-game presser last night.
No, I didn't either.
But I would assume that Flaherty might have been near his pitch count.
He could have been, and that's following the script. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's this is the way it was going to be.
But to me, that's not the decision that I think the fan, at least for me, is going to get the most angry about.
Oh, no. It's going to be.
Fans understand pitch counts now. I mean, for example, why did you start Max Kepler instead of Harrison Bader?
Sure.
And, you know, when Rob Thompson, and I got to admit, I don't know who asked this question, because the video of this audio, Kevin,
okay,
you can't see the questioner.
Right.
But whoever asked this question, I love the way they frame it. Because when you listen to it, you hear Rob Thompson's answer.
Mm-hmm.
Rob Thompson, this might be one of the 5 worst answers a Philadelphia Phillies manager's ever given to a question.
There's a lot of frustration in the fan base with Kepler. Like, why are you guys continuing to give him opportunities at this point?
Swinging the bat good now. Like I said, there's not much to show for it, but he's barreling a lot of balls up. He's playing really good defense.
That is not an acceptable answer, Rob. I'm sorry.
And what's really funny is that he barrels up the first ball he hits to center field, hit it to the wall, and like I get that. I don't like the numbers tell you the story, don't they? Like the guy's
nobody
barely
cares he's hitting the
right.
ball.
Nobody.
Hard.
Well, especially if he's still making outs, it doesn't matter. If he hits a home run in the first,
you know
first
what's
at
great
bat,
exit velocity, Kevin? O'Neal Cruz.
Well, sure.
Go look at his batting average. It stinks. Okay.
Yeah.
Like it's like in hockey. Like if you have a guy who can do a slap shot over 100 miles an hour,
yeah.
but he can't get anywhere near the net, who cares?
Right. Well, sure, exactly. And look, I didn't understand it either. Like my first thought when they made that trade for Harrison Bader was that you were setting yourself up for Justin Crawford to be called up. And I understand they're maybe playing logistically here with that August 15th deadline. I get that. It still didn't make much sense to me either way because to me, if you're as a general manager, president of baseball operations, whatever it may be, if you value the prospects that you have at the top that much, I can understand that maybe you didn't want to part ways with one of them for the closer and you were holding out for something else maybe. But I don't think there was that great of a market. Like you had maybe 2 bats that you felt like you could really upgrade with. Like it was either Suarez or Quan, and that was about it that was really out there. Maybe if Cruz got to that point, maybe for a while people were talking about Brett Rooker, and it's like, well, he never went anywhere. Like all these guys didn't go anywhere,
really quick,
but you held on to guys that maybe could have gotten them.
Yeah, what was weird about Rooker is, I'll say this for we move on, is that Rooker went on television and said, I'm not getting traded. So he must have been handed some information by the Athletics.
Yeah.
Like, dudes don't usually go on an interview and be like,
yeah, I'm
not getting traded.
Right.
I'm here. You look at the guy, you mentioned Quan, he wasn't even traded at all.
Right.
But there were a lot of people overpaying for guys.
Yeah.
And, Dave Dombrowski confirmed that everyone asked for Andrew Painter. He said no to everyone.
Yeah.
So I don't know where him saying no, like, crossed that line of, like, no return where, because Dombrowski made a comment, and I'm not going to play the audio right now. I'll summarize it. But, like, he said on Wednesday night that they had talked to every team.
Right.
But there were a lot of teams that were still unsure if they were sellers or not. So he said that basically they stopped talking to them.
Yeah. Well, and I've seen, like, that parity is over a lot of sports, and that complicates things when you're trying to be a buyer in essentially a non-seller's market. If there's too many teams out there that think they have a shot, then you're not going to be able to really get anything of impact. Like, if Suarez was the best bat that was out there for all of the reasons, right-handed, power, all of that, he's a third baseman. So you're going to shake up your entire defensive alignment for one guy, if that's who you really think it is, and he's a rental, and it might cost you Aiden Miller, let's just say, then maybe that's why you don't go for it at that point, and you let somebody else who wants to make that deal overpay for it, if that's the case, especially if he's the only true power bat that was out there.
He's Kevin Durso, 973 ESPN.com writer, joining us here on 973 ESPN. By the way, I gotta love people who call me when I'm in the middle of a show and they know I'm on the air. I think he realized, the person who called me, that I'm on the radio. I am on the radio! And also live on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. See out also live at Josh Hennig on YouTube and X in the Dr. Squatch virtual studio. By the way, Kevin.
Yeah.
Watching on the stream.
Yes.
You might know this guy.
I do.
Tony Durso mentions Brad Lidge as the last good closer before Durant.
Now, first of all, what's up, Dad?
I would say to Mr. Durso that maybe, like, some of the other Phillies fans, they have such bad memories of, like, 2012 to 2016 that Papelbon gets forgotten.
I think it's Papelbon never got that moment. No playoffs, no late season thing.
Metallico never got that moment.
Well, true. Now we're going back. Yeah, now, well, Papelbon may not have been beloved for different reasons, though, because he was a crazy one.
He was an ornery,
yes,
what?
Exactly.
But, like, for example, so
Well, it was and that was the total opposite of Brad. Like Brad Lidge was maybe the most likable guy you could imagine, and then Papelbon had like this, kind of this love-hate relationship.
Right, so I got 2 questions when we come back from the break.
Okay.
Everybody listening, Mr. Durso, you can chime in as well, watching on the YouTube stream at Josh Hennig. Everyone text in, listening on 973-609-403-0973. I got 2 questions for the day. Number 1, rank the Philadelphia executive general manager decision makers. So you got Dave Dombrowski, Howie Roseman, Daryl Morey, Danny Briere. Those are the big 4 decision makers. I think we all can agree Howie is number 1.
Yeah.
He is the A++ guy.
Mm-hmm.
But who is 2? Who is 3?
Yeah.
Who is 4? That's where the debate is, number 1. Number 2, favorite Phillies closer. I just thought of that because Papelbon, you mentioned, never had a moment.
Right.
Lidge, a lot of moments.
Yeah.
Billy Wagner just went into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
How many people even remember the Billy Wagner tenure?
Yeah.
Is a question. Ricky Metallico, his claim to fame is he was the Phillies' lone all-star the last time the All-Star game was in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So that was his claim to fame, and he had a very short run. He did not have this great prolific run. You might not remember, but Jose Mesa was the closer for a little bit. So that was a interesting tenure for him.
There's a ton of guys we can get into too, because I'm even thinking about in 2007, the mix of guys they had by the end of the year was Brett Myers. But at one point in time, Antonio Alfonseca is closing out games.
Mm-hmm.
You had this whole mix of guys that did it for a short period of time.
Remember when they tried to tell us that Antonio Bastardo was going to be a closer at some point, and it never happened?
They tried to tell us that with a lot of people. I mean, how many guys did they employ at one point in time or another, even just last season, that had closing experience by the end of the year that didn't pan out? Yeah.
So that's the 2 questions we got for you today. Throughout the show, rank the general managers. If we all agree Howie Roseman is the number 1, who's 2? Who's 3? Who's 4? Are you giving Dombrowski the 2 spot? Are you saying that Danny Briere has more hope? Are you looking at Daryl Morey and saying, you know what, I may not like Daryl Morey that much, but I got to give him credit because he's tried to do stuff? Let us know. 609-403-0973. We are live on YouTube and X in the Dr. Squatch virtual studios. More Phillies talk with me, Josh Hennig, hanging with Kevin Durso on 97.3 ESPN.
Swing and a high fly ball out towards left field.
This weekend on ESPN Radio.
On its way, out of here, Kyle Schwarber.
To a baseball's best go head-to-head. The Detroit Tigers storm into Philadelphia to face the Phillies.
Home run to right, Riley Green.
The Tigers at the Phillies. Coverage begins today at 3:30 Eastern and tomorrow at 6 Eastern.
It's Phillies baseball on 97.3 ESPN.
Your go-to spot at the Jersey Shore to watch sports is also the Can't Miss Summertime Hangout for live music and great times in South Jersey. Yesterday's Creekside Tavern on Roosevelt Boulevard in Marmora features The Yard, with an outside bar, TVs, and live music on stage every weekend. So bring your friends to cheer on your favorite team, watch the sunset on the back deck, and make new summer memories in The Yard. You can do it all at yesterday's Creekside Tavern in Marmora. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram to learn about upcoming events and specials all summer long at yesterday's Creekside Tavern in Marmora.
For 23 years, we've helped athletes at all levels at Clemic Performance Method, from youth to pros, increase maximum velocity, acceleration, vertical leaps, and general physical preparedness. We offer youth, high school, and pro college classes. Our proven results have earned national recognition from NFL coaches, sponsors, and a feature on ESPN Radio's Sports Science segment. You can contact me directly at 609-742-6190, or as always, visit us on our website, ClemicPerformanceMethod.com.
The back-to-school deals at Kohl's are so good, it'll feel like spoiling yourself. With 20% off the stuff your kids will actually wear, like jeans, tees, sneakers, and more. You can do it all without overdoing your budget. See? Sometimes parents get spoiled too. Head to Kohl's or Kohls.com to start the year off right for less. Select styles. Coupon ends August 10th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohls.com for details.
If you didn't think skipping breakfast was a big deal, you'd be right. Before. But now, Wendy's has Buck Biscuits. We're talking sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit, bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit, or even the Honey Buddy chicken biscuit for just $1 each. Seriously, you can get all 3 if you want. They're just $1, so you'll never skip breakfast again. If you're smart. Breakfast for $1? Gotta be Wendy's.
Limited time only. Price and participation may vary. Limit 5 qualifying items per transaction. Not valid in the combo while supplies last.
Citizens, since we each upgraded to Xfinity in our homes, the Wi-Fi has been booming. It's fair to say our town has officially become a boomtown.
Mayor, will I be able to drop into multiplayer gaming battles with low lag?
The lag won't be an issue, but your questionable skills may be.
And what if I have hundreds of devices on the Wi-Fi? Purely hypothetical.
Seems like a lot, but sure, hundreds of devices all booming together with the Xfinity Gateway. Yes, friends and neighbors, with Xfinity, the Wi-Fi is booming.
The Wi-Fi isn't the only thing that's booming. Now get the most reliable Wi-Fi and our best-in-class equipment for one consistent price for 5 years guaranteed. All in. Plus, get unlimited data included and no annual contract. All with the 5-year price guarantee from Xfinity. Visit Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Restrictions apply. Not available in all areas. New residential customers only. Select plans only. Xfinity Gateway with XFi Complete required for unlimited data except in certain areas. Most reliable Wi-Fi based on Open Signal Awards USA. Fixed Broadband Experience Report, August 2024. Actual speeds vary.
Do Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keep coming back? Tremfya, guselkumab, may help, with rapid remission achieved at 12 weeks and lasting clinical remission at 1 year. Some even saw visible improvement of their intestinal lining at 12 weeks and 1 year. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya. Approximately 3 out of 10 patients were in endoscopic remission at 1 year, based on areas visualized on colonoscopy, which may not represent the deeper bowel layer or entire GI tract. Individual results may vary. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
When businesses thrive, communities score. That's why Bank of America is the official bank of FIFA World Cup here in New York, New Jersey. And our more than 280 local business specialists are ready to help your business win. What would you like the power to do? Learn more at bankofamerica.com/local business. Bank of America, official bank of FIFA World Cup 2026. Bank of America Corporation, all rights reserved.
You're hanging with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM.
I want my picks back. I want David Putnam.
And on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
All my picks back, and I want David Putnam just because I feel like it.
You're out of your mind.
Yeah, I am. Haven't I proved that already?
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
I mean, it would not be a day after Joan Duran's debut if we did not play the entrance song for the one and only Joan Duran. Josh Hennig, along with Kevin Durso, live in the Dr. Squatch virtual studios on 97.3 ESPN. Now, I'm going to drop a little knowledge on all of you. Because as Billy Schweim, who's leaving the studio, knows, at a previous job, I used to manage a music Hispanic station. This song is actually a well-known song.
You're right.
By an artist who is the reggaeton variation of, and over there, I'm only saying it this way because Nuggets is back in the studio. So, Farouk is the artist.
Okay.
Who originally that song. But he is a little bit, to an extent, like one of these artists who gets picked up by other people and gets publicized.
Okay.
So, Pitbull came along.
Yes.
Remixed that song and made it very popular. And that's part of the reason why that became Duran's outro, walkout song, because of the fact that Pitbull popularized it. And for those who don't know, Duran's teammates helped him pick that song.
Okay.
And so, but what's funny is that in the Latina Musica world, that environment, Pitbull is kind of viewed in many ways, kind of like the Lil Waynes, like the someone maybe like Future, someone who does like a lot of collab work with people. And that collab work elevates people. You know, like Tech Nine, he's a guy who's known now because Tech Nine was elevated by Lil Wayne and other guys. So Future does the same thing. Future does a lot of collab work, as Nick Earnshaw knows, and that collab work elevates other artists. So what Pitbull is to the Latin music scene.
Right.
And that is he takes guys like Farouk and elevates them. And now this song is going to be the most popular song in Philadelphia.
Yeah, where everybody's going to be finding it on Spotify and things like that.
Yeah, because of Johan Duran.
Yeah.
Now, I will say the original song does not have the gong, okay? As Nick Earnshaw pulls up the microphone. What's up, Nuggets? How you hanging over here?
I'm hanging. I'm hanging with Hennig right now. That's what we're doing. No, I was going to say, like, does this take over the song of the postseason?
Yes.
Is this the song now? Are we getting rid of the old song?
Oh,
we are getting rid of the
Dancing
old
on
song.
My Own.
Yeah, well, Dancing on My Own never won anything.
No, that should have been dead last
I agree.
year,
I think
2
it should
years
be
ago
dead
or
now.
whatever it was. We were done with that. That was 2022.
It should be dead now. I'm on board with it being gone. I'm over it. I guess this is it. This is the song. This is the mashup. That's okay now in the postseason.
Well, you got to remember, you don't have Garrett Stubbs making the playlist right now either, so you don't have. So there is no song.
Who's going to take over the playlist?
Maybe Durant should take over the playlist. get some reggaeton in that locker room.
Bader. Can Bader take over the playlist? He's had a couple of postseason runs.
Well, Bader, for those who don't remember, his most famous one, he had 5 home runs in 9 games in 2022 for the Yankees.
I think on social media the Phillies just posted not too long ago
Like
a thing about who had you want on the aux score. I think Marsh got a lot of votes.
Yeah, I think Marsh should be on the aux. That's a solid choice.
I don't know anything about Marsh's music taste.
He
so
loves Lil Uzi Vert. He comes out to Lil Uzi Vert
That's
all the
true.
time.
Yeah,
That's
he
his
does,
walk-up
actually.
song.
Well, let me ask you, is that his choice? Or is
Yeah,
that
that's his
like
choice.
I assume so.
Yeah, that's his choice.
Well, because, for example, like I don't know if you guys ever heard the story that, like, Chase Utley did actually pick his song originally.
No, and then it stuck. He
stuck,
he
right.
got it and it stuck.
Right. So, like, to me, it's like, is Marsh a guy that was like, I want Little Uzi Vert?
Yeah.
Or is he a guy that was like, oh, I like this song, I'll stick with that?
It's 2 different Uzi songs that he comes out to. It changes throughout the game. So yeah, he's an Uzi guy for sure, and he's known as a partier. So he's like the Cooper DeJean of the Phillies, in my opinion.
Is that a good thing?
I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I'm making a comp. That's my comp. Cooper DeJean and Marsh. Yeah, they're out there. They're out and about.
They're out and about. That's. We can confirm that if you've seen the articles at 973ESPN.com that myself and Mike Gill have been writing about all the sightings and the happenings of all those guys. Speaking of Brandon Marsh, by the way, the Phillies lineup is out, and I can confirm to you Brandon Marsh is not in the lineup because they will be facing Terrence Skubal tonight. Well, today. 3:30 is the coverage here on 97.3 ESPN. 4 o'clock is first pitch. No, I'm telling you guys, he's not in the lineup. Here is the lineup. Turner, Schwarber, Harper, the usual. Real Muto, Castellanos, what we expected. Bader, finally in the lineup in center field. But then it gets interesting because you have no Bohm. Kemp at third, Sosa at second, and the only player who might not be as good as Max Kepler. Weston Wilson is in left field. I feel like this is a lineup, guys, that is only in existence because there is no Bohm right now. Because there's no reason why Wilson would be in this lineup. He'd be still in the minor leagues. You would probably have Kemp in left field instead of third base. But listen, they are saying Kepler, Marsh, Stott. All 3 of you are platoon players. They are going all in on this idea that these guys are what they are, right? They are not going to be playing against left-handed pitching, which makes the Kepler thing even more perplexing because there's a part of you that's like, well, then why is he here?
This was my logic with the Crawford thing, too, was that if you bring Crawford up and basically DFA Kepler, And Crawford's got to play every day. You don't know anything about him at the major league level. You'd have to see whether how do we know he can hit left-handed pitching in the majors or not? We don't know that yet. So you'd have to play him every day. That would basically be potentially an upgrade there if you put him, and you can take your pick, left or center, and then the other position is a platoon. You would basically eliminate one of the platoons. So instead, they've just doubled down on the platoons, and they added another guy who gets to play there. I'd love to see what Bader can do as in his start now instead of just coming in mid-game. You're definitely right about the Bohm aspect, that if Bohm's playing, then you shift everything around. Kemp goes to left. Sosa probably plays second anyway for Stott, and that's the end of that. And that's end of discussion. But instead, you get Weston Wilson in left field.
And as I said, you kind of have to at this point.
One of the things I was thinking about, too, and it wasn't necessarily a point that we have on here, but in last night's game, Bryce Harper getting ejected. That can't happen because of that exact situation. I understand he's frustrated. And I know what kind of the passion he has and the energy he has, and you want to let's this way. Schwarber felt the same way on the first 2 batters into the game, and they had the same reaction. They were already barking at the third base umpire to begin with. But in that spot, you're in a tie. You just tied the game up. You're in a tie game. His spot very well could come up again. And instead of having, before, Stott gets on base ultimately and they score the run to take the lead in the 8th inning, but what if he doesn't? What if he's out on that play? And your bottom of the 9th now is Turner, Schwarber, Weston Wilson. That's such a huge drop-off, and that's why as long as that's the way your roster is constructed, he can't get thrown out of a game like that.
And I think that's what is confusing to some people, and that is, you just mentioned he can't get thrown out in a situation like that. And there's a part of you that's like, well, why then did he get thrown out? Like, what was the point of him getting that angry and that? And listen, I speak as someone who is very quick to anger, to quote the biblical verse, okay? The rage inside of me is the reason why I go to the gym, okay? My friends make fun of me. I'm an angry lifter at the gym. Okay? But, I am the kind of person who you have to manage it. You have to maintain. People are going to make you angry sometimes. You just have to deal with it, man. And it's like, for Harper to react the way he did yesterday was just so odd to me. Because to me, I'm looking around like, what's the point? Like, what's the point of acting like that, dude? Like, what are you accomplishing?
Well, and as somebody who in the heat of a moment watching a game can get equally as riled up, speaking for myself, obviously, I'm guessing that, first of all, the second pitch of the at-bat, which was not a strike that was called a strike, starts that whole thing. So you're already upset about something, and he kind of tamed it there, like, I'm not going to let this affect me. It's 0-2. I'm going to step out of the box.
Right.
All that stuff. It just, like, to me, it's the recognition in that situation as a leader on the team, as somebody that you're relied upon. You're the 3-hole hitter. You're the guy who has the big contract that basically started all this. You're like the recruiting committee. If you say sign or trade for a guy, everybody listens to you. You have to do hold up your end of the bargain and to stay available. And in a game like that, like, you've got to compare that situation to a playoff game. That's a team that will be in the playoffs that you're playing. That's a situation where in playoff games you're going to be in tie games late. Just because that doesn't, that doesn't go your way. And it was I was less worried about, like, the call. Like, you look at the check swing, it was close. It looks like he breaks the plane, so he swings. I can understand if you're frustrated with the angle that the umpire has on it, because he looks like he's looking around Trey Turner to even see it, which means maybe he didn't even really see it and he's just going off of reaction. I'm going to just call this guy out. And I'll, like, part of the equation is that, like, as much as he reacts, it's a quick hook. I mean, he's out of the game in a split second because he's clearly showing frustration. So it goes both ways. It was a quick hook. He's also got to manage it there. And I'm only talking about, like, you're frustrated. You may want to show a little emotion there in that spot to the point where it doesn't get you thrown out of the game, and it was such a quick hook that it did. He's also got to know what the next in line is. I mean, by that point in time in the game, to get the game tied, you transformed your whole lineup because you went to the other half of the platoons you have. You get Bader and Kemp come off the bench to come into the game, so you're now 2 guys are off your bench. It leaves you with that situation where by the time they were done with that, I think they only had 1 player left on the bench, and it was Rafael Marchand.
And that in and of itself was a problem.
Sure.
Because you're already shorthanded without Bohm.
Right.
And you started Kepler for some unknown reason. By the way, speaking of that, Steven Bettner chimes in at 609-403-0970. He says, and I agree with Steve on this specific point. He says, Bader should be the center fielder for the next 3 to 4 weeks. Then you can call up Crawford on September 1st to preserve his rookie status. Make him eligible for the playoffs. If Bader succeeds, he may be worth his player option. Crawford is a nice insurance policy, and at worst is the speed guy off the bench in the postseason. And, of course, when I hear speed guy off the bench in the postseason, first thing I think of is Dave Roberts in 2004 for the Red Sox. But still, it's a good point by Steve, because it's the idea that Bader needs to be in the lineup every day. I don't care about Kepler's exit velocity. I don't care. Look, unless Kepler has blackmail on the Phillies,
right,
there should be no reason why they need him starting. And him being the petulant child, I need playing time. Oh, my goodness. I'm not in rhythm. Like, what are you talking about, dude? You had one good year. It was 2019. Like, you have no room to tell us how you deserve playing time.
And you got 10 million reasons to say that, like, to not have to go there either. You know, you're getting paid good money.
No matter what.
Right. You're getting paid good money.
Like,
so
he's getting
just do your
paid.
job.
Right.
You know, I'm taking the Bill Belichick approach. Just do your job.
But still, it's like you acquired Bader.
Yeah.
Okay. To me, the lineup moving forward, I'm with Steve, should be Bader in center field.
End of
Marsh
conversation.
in left.
Yeah.
Let Marsh play left. Now you have a good defensive outfield because Castellanos is an abomination.
Right.
So now you got two good outfielders together. I know Kepler's a more than above average fielder. I totally get that. But he's Kepler.
Right.
He is what he is. I'm not sacrificing Bader's bat for Kepler's potential.
200 average.
Right.
You know.
So it's like then, as Steve points out, call up Crawford September 1st. Now,
Sure.
Remember, you can't expand the rosters like you used to.
Right.
Where they could bloat the roster from out the wazoo, and you have like 50 guys in the dugout back in the day. Like that was the joke back in the late 90s with the Phillies, was that it was like the Phillies were bad from like 96 to like 2002 or 2003. And every September it was like, and here is fill in the blank random minor league guy.
Yeah.
That you were like, oh, maybe Matt Beach will become something. Or it's like, oh, who is this Billy McMillan that we acquired for Darren Dalton from the Marlins? Like, there'd be all those random guys who would come up, and like you'd look over the camera pan at the dugout, there's like 20 million guys in the dugout. You don't do that anymore. So it's now you only could pick one batter, one pitcher to call up. So now, is Crawford that batter? Okay, I can work with that. I don't know who the pitcher is right now, just because I feel like there's 20 ways they can go with it. Because you traded Mick Abel away.
There's one obvious one if that's where they want to go. I just don't know if they think he's ready. It's if they decide Painter.
It sounds like the Phillies don't think he's ready. I'm just going to say that.
Sure. I don't know whether that's based on the actual performance, like by the numbers, or if they're just very conscious of the health because of what he's coming back from. That's the other part of the equation.
He has had some control issues.
Yeah.
Keith Law was on with Mike Gill from The Athletic. Keith Law, and he talked about how Painter's slider control has been poor. So that's led to some of the problems.
His last start was kind of finally, at least it was by the stat line anyway, was at least finally what you're more looking for him from AAA anyway. You know, okay, 1 run allowed, 7 hits over 6. Like there we go. That's the comfort zone you want to be in when you get ready to call a guy up, not some of these previous starts he's had where you give up 4 or 5 runs at a time and then your ERA is sitting at 4.50 in AAA.
Exactly.
Like that, and that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if it has to do with the numbers or does it have to do with we just don't want to overdo it this year with coming back from Tommy John surgery. It's like it's a fine line to walk. And so in terms of that, I don't know who the pitcher would be. I just hope it's not one of these other guys that we've seen up here already who's basically a quadruple A guy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously no one wants to see Michael Mercado.
That's exactly who I was thinking of. Well, because I don't need to see any more of Michael Mercado to know that he doesn't belong here. I mean, that was part of the thing before they got Duran. It was like, you've got to do something with the bullpen because at this point in time, and let's just say, they had put Joe Ross on the IL at that point. Romano is what he is at this point, or had been what he was, and totally not meeting expectations whatsoever, at least expectations of the people who brought him in. And you're employing 4 pitchers at least in that bullpen that if they were gone tomorrow, I don't even know if anybody would even care.
Right.
You know, Daniel Robert goes on the IL now, and it's like, okay, so what? Like, we saw what he was. It's not, same thing would happen if it was Seth Johnson or,
Really quick, David Robertson has to come up at some point.
Well, sure, and that's the other move that they made. It was just at the time while you're waiting for Robertson to be ready, while you're waiting for the trade deadline to come to make another move.
But is he the plus guy, or do you bring him up before September 1st? That's the question.
Oh, Robertson, I think he's up before then. I think he'd have to be.
So who gets kicked out?
Of the bullpen?
Yeah.
Probably Seth Johnson.
Makes sense.
If Robert's the first guy who went...
I mean, do you kick Seth Johnson out and then make him the call-up September 1st for just get an extra
possible.
arm in the bullpen?
Either that or Ron Hell. That's the only other guy I can think of who might be one of those guys.
I lean Johnson only because of the fact that he's probably got the higher ceiling, and you might want to audition him.
Yeah,
to trade him at some point.
Well, sure.
I think he is the 11th ranked. I gotta double check. I think he's the 11th ranked prospect in the Phillies organization.
It's something like that. Yeah.
So I mean, maybe at some point this offseason you package him with Nick Castellanos and send them both out of town.
Possible, yeah.
I'm just saying.
No, I get you. I get where you're coming from with it, but that's my point. Was like you got all these guys who are just AAA guys, and that's and it's not just that you have them in the bullpen. You're bringing them into situations. They were on the verge of trying to sweep the Boston Red Sox, and you're in extra innings, and that's what you've got to work with after a certain point. And part of that has to do with your starting pitching. Like if your starting pitching just doesn't get you to a certain level, you're calling on the other guys earlier. That's that back and forth battle where, and we were talking about the manager thing off the top. It was like sometimes you're looking at Rob Thompson going, well, why are you leaving this guy in for too long? And then you want to sit there and scream from the mountaintops.
But what's crazy
do you see your bullpen?
But also it's one, yes, you're right. Do you see your bullpen? I don't have enough arms.
Right.
But number 2, Caleb Cotham runs the pitching staff.
Yeah.
So the pitching coach needs sometimes to get up off his rear and go out for a mound visit.
Yeah.
How about that? Like, you're telling me that last week when Luzardo gave up that big inning.
Yeah.
Okay, on ESPN national television against the Red Sox, right?
Right.
That after the second walk, Kaufman couldn't have gotten up off his lazy butt, walked out to the mound, and calmed him down.
Yeah.
Like, you're telling me the whole thing could have changed?
Sure. And listen, that's part of the balance between Rob Thompson's role here is if you see a guy losing his composure that much, 3-4 walks in a row, yeah, you got to put a stop to it at some point. You need to at least have somebody getting ready, and you can't just rely on, well, I wanted to get him through this guy, or I was trying to set it up so this guy comes in for this guy. Sometimes you abandon that plan because a guy just doesn't have it after a certain point.
We'll get back to more of your text and comments at 609-403-0973. We see messages coming in on the YouTube channel at Josh Hennig. We are live in the Dr. Squatch virtual studio on X and YouTube at Josh Hennig. Don't forget, we are still taking your thoughts on the Phillies, ranking the executives, the GMs. Eagles, Howie Roseman, Dave Dombrowski of the Phillies, Danny Briere of the Flyers, Daryl Morey of the Sixers. Who is 2, 3, and 4? We know Howie is the king of the mountain. Also, still to come, Charlotte Varnes from The Athletic at 125, ESPN.com writer Mark Romani at 225. All that and more coming up. Hanging with Hennig live here, brought to you by yesterday's Creekside Tavern, the best sports bar in South Jersey on Roosevelt Boulevard in Marmora. Features the yard with great entertainment every single weekend, all summer long. And, of course, when you want to watch the games, the Eagles, the Phillies, the Sixers, the Flyers, go inside. The audio is always on the TVs with great drink specials and more. You got to try the Smash Burgers. They're absolutely incredible. Yesterday's Creekside Tavern, your go-to place in South Jersey for sports, music, entertainment, food, and drinks on Roosevelt Boulevard. That's yesterday's Creekside Tavern in Marmora. Josh Hennig hanging out with you. We'll wrap up the first hour coming up next on 97.3 ESPN.
This is South Jersey's official home for Philadelphia Eagles football. The Eagles return to open the preseason Thursday night against the Bengals.
Farrell back. He tries to swing it out to Chase, and he's brought down for a loss by DeJean.
Oh, my. What a play by the rookie Cooper DeJean.
Listen to all the action with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick with pregame coverage starting at 6:30 and kickoff at 7:30. This is the play-by-play home of the Philadelphia Eagles. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
Listen up. The soap you shower with, it's you probably haven't even questioned what bar of soap you lather up with. Let's face it, most guys don't. But now you can upgrade your shower game with Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. I'm talking about natural, nourishing, cold-pressed, hand-cut soap for men. Men who use their hands. Men who build things. Men who catch foul balls without spilling their beer. You won't just smell good either. Your skin will be healthier and more nourished. We make our soaps with natural ingredients from the earth. Ingredients like oils, plants, goat's milk, Greek yogurt, oatmeal, shea butter, and citrus. Turn your shower game up to 11. Get ready to step out of the shower feeling alive.
Hey, this is Josh Hennig. Go to my social media and click my exclusive Dr. Squatch link for your chance to save $10 off your next order of great natural soap, deodorant, and much more. Only with Dr. Squatch.
Recovering from an addiction is an individual accomplishment. A young mother who chose recovery to care for her family. A high school athlete overcoming opioid addiction. A couple celebrating his recovery. Everyone's recovery is different, and there's no shame in asking for help. Call 844-REACH-NJ. Trained counselors are available 24/7 to help you find the recovery option that's best for you. Tell us your story, and let's begin your recovery today.
If you're 55 or older and into that whole saving money thing, T-Mobile has an exclusive phone and internet bundle just for you. Right now, get 2 unlimited phone lines plus 5G home internet for just $30 each per month with autopay, plus taxes and fees. And with 5G home internet, setup is easy with just 1 cord and no technician needed, which is great if you're also into that whole keeping it simple thing. Switch now and experience the best mobile network in the U.S. Visit your local store to start saving. T-Mobile, it's better over here.
Based on analysis by Ookla Speed Test Intelligence data Q4 2024 to Q1 2025. Ookla trademarks used under license. Unlimited on our network. Customers on voice plan may notice speeds lower than other customers and further reduction if using more than 50 gigs a month due to data prioritization. Video streams and SD on this plan. Home internet pricing after $20 in monthly bill credit plus $5 per line without autopay. Debit or bank account required. See 5G device coverage and access details at T-Mobile.com.
Do Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keep coming back? Tremfya, guselkumab, may help, with rapid remission achieved at 12 weeks and lasting clinical remission at 1 year. Some even saw visible improvement of their intestinal lining at 12 weeks and 1 year. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya. Approximately 3 out of 10 patients were in endoscopic remission at 1 year, based on areas visualized on colonoscopy, which may not represent the deeper bowel layer or entire GI tract. Individual results may vary. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
The seafood, extraordinary. The value, tremendous. The sunsets, on the house. It's Yuri's Waterfront Restaurant. Dine indoors, on the deck overlooking the bay, or watch the game at Sliders Bar with a new baseball-themed sliders menu. Enjoy delicious seafood, including Yuri's famous all-you-can-eat crabs, tropical summer cocktails, and daily specials. Yuri's has a kids menu and an arcade. And next to Yuri's is the Boathouse Restaurant. 2 great ways to experience the Jersey Shore's best waterfront dining. Yuri's and the Boathouse at the foot of the bridge in Wildwood.
Now back to Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM.
Who is right? You are an ox and a moron.
And on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Hello? Get back in the room.
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
Well, you know what happens when you're having a good conversation is that you run out of hour. The hour is already done. Hour 1 of Hanging with Hennig. Kevin Durso joining me here in the Dr. Squatch virtual studios on 97.3 ESPN. We'll get back in the Phillies as well. Also, Eagles talk coming up because there are 2 names at training camp that I'm a little concerned are not following the Nick Sirianni mantra. Nick Sirianni always says, Competition. But is there competition at these two positions? That's still to come. Also, Charlotte Barnes, who covers the Phillies for The Athletic. And also at 2:25, Mark Raimondi joins us from ESPN.com. All that and more still to come. Josh Hennig with Kevin Durso hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN.
We've seen those windmills on the way into Atlantic City, but have you ever thought about what they power or how they work? Now you and your family can learn at a free 1-hour renewable energy tour right there at the ACUA's water treatment facility every Wednesday at noon throughout July and August. And here with more is president of the ACUA, Matt Donato. Matt, what's this tour all about?
So it's a great opportunity for the public to come in and learn about the windmills, but also learn about the wastewater treatment process. So the windmills at the site, they power the process for our wastewater treatment plant.
For people interested in this free tour, where can they get more information?
acua.com/summer tours. Stop by at 12 p.m. on Wednesdays in the months of July and August.
Thanks so much, Matt Donato, president of the ACUA. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Have you ever wondered how the Atlantic City wind turbines work? Stop by ACUA's free open house tours every Wednesday at noon in July and August to find out. The wind farm powers ACUA's wastewater treatment facility, keeping our waterways clean and healthy. Visit acua.com/summer tours.
Here's comedians and Skechers getting comfortable, presented by Hands-Free Skechers Slip-Ins.
Hey, I'm Bobby Slayton, and I'm here with my pal, comedian, and Skechers ambassador, Mr. Howie Mandel.
Why did it take so long to invent something as amazing as slip-ins? I know it seems simple, but it took Skechers to invent a better pair of shoes.
Yep, with Skechers Slip-ins, you just step it and go. You don't have to touch your shoes. And by the way, Slip-ins are for the whole family. Men, women, and kids. In all your favorite Skechers styles, find Skechers Slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Join two-time Super Bowl champion Tully Banta Kane and Philadelphia Flyers legend Brian Propp on August 9th at the Beach Football League Rare Courage Cornhole Challenge at Wildwood Beach. Co-hosted by ACPMP, helping raise vital funds for appendix cancer research. Register at rarecornhole.com.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They got him again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Tipped in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
Finally! This is Hanging with Hennig.
I have friends everywhere.
On 97.3 ESPN Radio, South Jersey.
In New Jersey. Am I right? Yeah.
Live feed on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
It seems to run on some form of electricity. Well, you're not wrong.
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together.
Now, here's your host.
He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Josh Hennig.
Hour 2 of Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. Yes, Kevin Durso is still in studio with me for the full 3 hours, streaming live on YouTube and X in the Dr. Squatch virtual studio. Don't forget, go to my Dr. Squatch link. You can save $10 on your next Dr. Squatch order, but only if you use my link. I can't promise you can save $10 otherwise. I really can't. We got to get to more Phillies coming up in about 25 minutes with Charlotte Barnes. She covers the Phillies for The Athletic. For those who don't remember, Charlotte was the one who was in Miami when most of the media did not travel to Miami and Castellanos got benched.
Yeah.
She was the one who tracked down Castellanos and got those, shall we call them interesting quotes from him in Miami. That's kind of like she is shown to be unafraid to answer or ask the right questions, shall I call it.
Sure.
So she's joining us coming up in about 25 minutes from now. As always, folks, you can join the conversation, 609-403-0973. Also on YouTube, at Josh Hennig, at X at Josh Hennig. So we're going to get to the Eagles in a moment. But I want to remind everybody the 2 questions throughout the day. 1, rank the general managers. Howie is number 1 with the Eagles. Phillies with Dombrowski, Danny Briere with the Flyers, Daryl Moore with the Sixers. Who are your 2, 3, 4? Also, favorite Phillies closer. Now that we got Duran out here coming out with the epic outro music, is it Lidge? Is it Billy Wagner? Is it Ricky Vitalico? Is it Jose Mesa for whatever reason? Is it Mitch Williams? Is it Jonathan Papelbon? Probably not. But the point is that who was your other favorite Phillies closers over the years? So we'll get to those answers a little bit later throughout the show. But we got to get to the Eagles. Because I said before the break that Nick Sirianni, Kevin, has been very, very overt in his Philadelphia. We compete.
Mhm.
We go out there. We compete. And it sounds all well and good, right? But the problem is that we're not seeing that played out overtly in training camp right now. Because we have 3 explicit position battles. Right guard, safety, second corner. Now, the second corner has been a legitimate competition. Keely Ringo and Dory Jackson both getting plenty of reps at that spot. But safety is not going the way most people thought for 2 reasons. One, the Eagles are getting Cooper DeJean reps at safety because in certain packages, they want Cooper at safety because, if there's no nickel or there's a scenario where they might go extra spread with 3 safeties.
Right.
Example.
The guy's been so good, you just want him on the field, period.
Right. You want an instinctive player on the field.
Mm-hmm.
But that cuts into the time for the other 3 guys.
Yeah.
Sidney Brown, Drew Makuba, the rookie. Sidney Brown drafted a couple years ago. Makuba's a rookie. And then you got Tristan McCollum, who got a lot of playing time last year.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is Makuba injured his shoulder a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not getting as many reps anymore. Now Sidney Brown is getting more reps. And McCollum is basically not getting reps at all at this point with the first team.
Mm-hmm.
At right guard, we thought it was going to be a competition between Tyler Steen, Keon Green, who you acquired in the C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade, and veteran Matt Pryor, who is back again, boys and girls. But Steen has gotten all the first-team reps. So while the secondary corner looks like a legitimate competition, Kevin, right guard and safety, it's starting to look like that it's going a specific direction. So as an Eagles fan who watches every game as you do, are you looking at this team and are you okay with a clear favorite this early in the process at those positions?
Depends on who you're talking about. Like, I can understand favoring DeJean to a degree. Like, I don't know what more you need to see after his rookie season to put him out there as much as possible.
But here's the problem.
You're worried about, but you don't want to take away the reps like you're talking about. You need to have other guys who are able to go on, especially if you want him playing nickel.
But also, if he is arguably his best position is nickel.
Right.
I don't need to see him at 20 other positions.
True.
Why don't we let the guys who can play those positions get the reps?
And I wonder how much this injury to Makuba really gets in the way of this, because I wonder if that's their other guy. If he really would be, if healthy and capable, if he would be the other guy who they favor in that spot. Because I feel like that's what they drafted him for.
Well, like, for example, just to kind of, put this context, if you go back and watch the behind-the-scenes video the Eagles put out,
yeah,
when they drafted Makuba, I think that was only the second time I've ever seen Vic Fangio smile. I mean, the guy looked like he just won the lottery.
Yeah.
By getting Makuba. So at least the defensive coordinator likes him.
Mm-hmm.
I did love the comment this week where Fangio was asked a question about Adoree Jackson, and he goes, well, Howie makes decisions around here. I don't have a say in this stuff, And it was almost like...
That's indirectly saying I kind of didn't need...
Well, because he mentioned that, there were guys that we signed last year that I didn't want. So that's a direct shot at Bryce Huff, for example, who's no longer here.
Right.
So, but it's like, I doubt that Howie's going to draft the guy without asking Fangio first. And you saw Fangio's reaction. He was very excited. So my working assumption has always been that Makuba is here in part because of Fangio.
Yeah. And to your point about the other competitions, like, to me, the right guard competition should be a big competition. You've got the best offensive line coach. Let these guys go out and battle it out, and whoever takes to all of that the best, that's the guy who should play. It shouldn't just go to, Tyler Steen because he's been here the longest, let's just say, or anything like that. Like, let these guys battle it out. That's the one position that they draft better than anybody at it. They develop better than anybody at it, and then it performs better than pretty much every team in the league because it's the whole thing. Stout you, right? Like, That's what you lean into. So why not lean into it? And this is the whole purpose of training camp, is to lean into it and lean into that competition. So that's the position to me that stands out most about a guy who's having more first-team reps than the others.
See, I always thought that this was going to be a repeat of 2017. So for those who remember, so in 2017, the Eagles had drafted Isaac Seumalo.
Mm-hmm.
They signed Stefan Wisniewski.
Right.
And they acquired Chance Warmack. So Warmack, the former first-round draft pick from Alabama. Wisniewski, the longtime veteran with the Raiders. And then you had Isaac Seumalo, the guy who drafted. And Seumalo actually got the job, but then he got injured.
Right, but that was the year. By the end of the year, that
Wisniewski took the job.
Wisniewski took the job
because Warmack was so bad.
Right. What I was getting to was that by the end of the year, because that was the Super Bowl year, you're going into Kelsey and Johnson. I think were the only two guys who were originally on the offensive line that were playing, and Brandon Brooks, because you lost Jason Peters for the year,
and you replaced him with Halapuli Vati Vaitai.
Yes. So there was so much mixing and matching. That's where you needed the depth in the first place.
So, I kind of thought that's what was going to happen this time. Again,
Yeah.
I thought, okay, you have three guys. Three guys will kind of, work in, and we'll see what happens. But for the Eagles, they seem very intent on letting Steen...
Yeah.
It's his job to lose. And I'm just kind of is that the right... Now, look, Stoutland's the best offensive line coach in football. I totally get that. I'm not saying the guy is dumb or anything. I know he knows what he's doing. So there's obviously a reason why... Kenyon Green, who himself is a former first-round draft pick, is not getting legitimate. Now, look, when you hear the Eagles' first preseason game this Thursday, here at your home Eagles football in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN, Merrill Reese and Mike Quick calling all the action. When that game is on this Thursday, if we see Kenyon Green getting blasted in the preseason game, that'll probably answer our question why. But at the same time, I just there is a curiosity about how you have a head coach in Sirianni who is in, his fifth year? Fifth year. And he always competition. And you have two of three position battles that are really not competition. The one position battle is almost being handed to Tyler Steen at right guard. Safety is turning into, we want DeJean to get reps. And now that Makuba is getting injured, maybe we'll just give the job to Sidney Brown. Again, not saying Sidney Brown didn't earn it, okay? But I'm just saying that there's a part of me that's are we just ignoring the competition aspect of this?
And you're talking about, at least to me anyway, you're talking about three positions that you need the depth at anyway. It's not like there's one guy who's stapled to those positions. Maybe among like your cornerbacks, there's one corner that you have to have on the field every play.
Quinyon Mitchell,
right? And then everybody else rotates in at different points. I mean, that's the way it is even on the line. You have different edge rushers on different plays. You have different interior on different plays because you need to mix and match at those positions to have the best personnel for what you think is being run the other way. But the only other time you see sustainable positioning is probably on the offensive side. It's like your quarterback's your quarterback, your running back's your primary running back. You've got a top wide receiver who you want on the field at all times. Everything else is kind of on a rotation basis anyway, so everybody should be getting a chance just to put them in that position in the first place. You're going to have a guy who you obviously favor who starts the game and who plays more plays than everybody else, but you still need to see it from everybody else to make sure you feel comfortable with it. I mean, you think about everybody's making plays. I mean, even in the Super Bowl, Avonte Maddox makes a big play, and he's not the first two names that you come up with at corner. You still need that guy.
And I think that's what's interesting about all of this. Kevin Durso joining me here in the Dr. Squatch virtual studios. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. And we are live on YouTube and X in the Dr. Squatch virtual studio. We'll check on the text board in just a bit at 609-403-0973. But for me, I always went into this process most intrigued by the two defensive battles because, as we said, Jeff Stoutland, best offensive line coach of football. We know he knows what he's doing, Kevin. But at the same time, I just kind of look around and I'm like, I'm curious how it's playing out. I'm just curious. I'm not saying it's wrong. But obviously, Makuba getting injured with the shoulder, that obviously impacts the reps that he gets. And we saw what happened last year. Remember, Cooper DeJean got injured in training camp. He missed time.
Yeah.
Because he missed time, he didn't get back on the field until after the bye week.
Yeah.
And now you saw that improve the defense after the bye week. But that was a long time.
Yeah.
Is Makuba going to maybe lose the opportunity to get playing time? Unfortunately, because of this injury, that's the one question. The other question is the second corner.
Mm-hmm.
Is Keely Ringo going to lose playing time again? Because remember last year he was competing for the third corner spot was Isaiah Rodgers.
Yeah.
Rodgers, he ain't walking through that door. He went to Minnesota for a deal that you probably could have given Rodgers. But this team, whether they overtly say it or not, Kevin, they are intent on giving Keely Ringo an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
They drafted him for a reason.
Yeah.
He is also still one of the youngest guys on this team. He was very, very young in college and then when he was drafted.
Yeah.
But he was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. He was an elite athlete. He is a very well-known player in that locker room as a hard worker.
Mm-hmm.
I think they want him to win this job, but it doesn't sound like he's running away with it.
Right.
It sounds like Adoree Jackson is doing enough to make you question if Ringo should be the guy.
Yeah, and you're saying that they probably want him to win that job? I would want him to win that job because I go off of the pedigree that they drafted with all these years. How many different Georgia and Alabama guys they take. That Georgia defense that he was part of was elite, and that's kind of what you wanted to recreate. And I think there's an element to seeing the way, and I know it's different when you take a guy in the 4th round versus the 1st round, but the way Jalen Carter emerged, like that's the picture, isn't it? That's the goal. Look at the way that he is. You can't take your eyes off him. He's the focal point of that line at this point. That's what you want to have with all these other guys. And to top it all off, like it's not just it's not just Jalen Carter who's emerged with it. You started to see everybody else. Nakobe Dean starts playing the way that you thought he could play. And Nolan Smith starts playing the way you thought he could play. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, this picture of we're just going to take the Georgia defense and move it to the Eagles was working. And if Ringo pans out the way that they seem to want, that would be great. But I agree with you. I think that if you're having doubts about his ability and potentially thinking that he could lose a competition to Adoree Jackson, then, that's probably not the way that everybody thought that this was going to go. I think you were grooming Keely Ringo to, over the years since you drafted him, to eventually take over this job, and it's still not quite there yet.
And listen, Howie Roseman deserves a ton of credit. He admits when he makes a mistake, he rectifies it, right? He's not a guy who says, I'm going to hang on to this guy for 5 years because I have to, Like, he got rid of Jalen Reagor after a couple of years. He was like, this ain't working. Get out of town. He gave Carson Wentz a ton of money. Got rid of him anyway, So Howie, the Keely Ringo experiment, we'll call it, doesn't work out. It's not that Howie's afraid to go get it. But when you let Isaiah Rodgers, a proven commodity, leave for a dollar amount, it was only a little over $5 million.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the Vikings gave him like a 5-year, $35 million contract.
Yeah, you weren't blown away in what he got in free agency. Exactly.
Right. He got a above average free agent contract. So then you had to sign Adoree Jackson anyway. And Adoree Jackson, for those who don't remember, so if you go back years ago, he was a part of that draft class with all of those big name cornerback prospects. It was him. It was what's his name? Patrick Surtain.
Okay. Yeah.
It was all of those young guys. J.C. Horn. Those guys over the years that have come through the draft who have been big time studs. He was one of those supposed to be big time studs in the draft coming out of USC. But it hasn't worked out because everywhere he's gone, people are just willing to let him leave. Tennessee was like, hey, you were all right, but we don't really feel like signing you back.
Yeah.
The Giants were like, hey, you were fine, but we don't feel like re-signing you back. And Fangio pointed out this week, Fangio said, there's a reason why teams keep letting this guy leave.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes you wonder, if Ringo loses the job to that dude,
yeah,
then you got to wonder, is Keely Ringo out the door after this?
Well, and it's not like you're talking about teams that are world beaters either. Tennessee and the Giants right now, the state that they've been in over the years. If you're not on that team, what does that say exactly? What does it say about you?
Well, the Giants, listen.
I know the Giants are a totally different animal.
Well, also the Giants are going to be good this year.
Yeah, that's
The defense.
Definitely better, yes.
The defense will be good.
Yes.
Listen, I keep telling people, I was telling a Giants fan last night, I'm like, you Giant fans just need to accept that this year is going to be the year where you are going to win more games than you're supposed to, and you're not going to have the first overall pick. You just got to accept it.
Right.
By the way, so here are the corners who got drafted. Because, I knew I didn't have the right year right, because I mentioned Surtain. I knew it wasn't that year, but I was just kind of like contextualizing him in terms of all the different guys who went like over the years. So in 2017 was the year Dory Jackson got drafted. Here are the corners in his draft class, Kevin. You ready?
Yep.
Marshawn Lattimore, Marlon Humphrey, and then Adoree Jackson. The guy drafted after Adoree Jackson was Gary Conley, who obviously had that legal issue. That's why he's not in the league anymore. But it also was Tre'Davious White, who went to the Bills at the time. And then later, Kevin King.
Mm-hmm.
So that year was a class of dudes.
Yeah.
And he's the one dude who hasn't fully worked out as well as you thought. And he was arguably the best athlete of all those guys. So again, that was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
If you're Keely Ringo and you lose the job to that guy,
yeah,
the guy who had all the promise, we talked about, the pitchers like John Flaherty in the last hour, right?
Mhm.
These guys, all this potential. If you're losing your job to do with all the potential, who can't always put it together, it says something about you.
Yeah, it definitely does. And that's part of what training camp is all about with the battles, but it's also, you have to try to figure out who makes it, who does. That's the job of also the executives, the job of the coaches. You got to figure out who makes your team the best. And if that's the situation, then it's on the communication between Nick Sirianni and the coaching staff and Howie Roseman. If it's time to cut ties too, if that's what it comes to, it's time to cut ties.
We'll get to more Eagles talk a little bit later this hour. I see you, Evan, in Little Egg Harbor. I'm very confused by your text, Evan. So we are going to get to your text a little bit later. But coming up on the other side, back to the Phillies, because Charlotte Barnes from The Athletic is going to join us. We are going to get into the after the trade deadline. Who are the Phillies? Thoughts on Duran, the new closer, all that and more with The Athletic Phillies beat writer Charlotte Barnes joining me, Josh Hennig, hanging with Kevin Durso, live in the Dr. Squatch virtual studios on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle, and streaming live on YouTube and X in the Dr. Squatch virtual studio.
Sunday morning in the locker with Billy Schwein, producer Danny Ryan joins me in the studio. The Phillies continue their series against the Detroit Tigers, and we'll recap all the action. Every Sunday during the baseball season, we go on the mound with former Phillies pitcher Tommy Green, brought to you by Blitz's Market of Ocean City. Hour 2, we'll hear from two-time Super Bowl champion from the New England Patriots, Tully Banta-Cain. Tully is bringing the Beach Football League to Wildwood next Saturday. It's the locker with Billy Schwein, Sunday morning from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN.
Your go-to spot at the Jersey Shore to watch sports is also the Can't Miss Summertime Hangout for live music and great times in South Jersey. Yesterday's Creekside Tavern on Roosevelt Boulevard in Marmora features The Yard, with an outside bar, TVs, and live music on stage every weekend. So bring your friends to cheer on your favorite team, watch the sunset on the back deck, and make new summer memories in The Yard. You can do it all at Yesterday's Creekside Tavern in Marmora. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram to learn about upcoming events and specials all summer long at Yesterday's Creekside Tavern in Marmora.
Do Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keep coming back? Tremfya, guselkumab, may help, with rapid remission achieved at 12 weeks and lasting clinical remission at 1 year. Some even saw visible improvement of their intestinal lining at 12 weeks and 1 year. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya. Approximately 3 out of 10 patients were in endoscopic remission at 1 year, based on areas visualized on colonoscopy, which may not represent the deeper bowel layer or entire GI tract. Individual results may vary. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
Paul's new drone startup just lost its most genius computer scientist.
We just lost our best genius to some new genius who's got a genius new idea. I'm gonna have to find a new genius. or 2 half geniuses and fast.
He needs a computer scientist that can keep his startup from falling down.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
It's a special time at the Home Depot right now with 10% off special order carpeting. Discover stylish choices and simple prices on all special order carpeting, including special buy. Then let us install it all for you with prices starting at just 49 cents per square foot. Give your floors a stylish on-trend upgrade and save more with 10% off special order carpeting at the Home Depot. Going on now. Offer valid July 17th through August 3rd, 2025. Exclusions apply. For licenses, see homedepot.com/license numbers.
You hear that? That's Mike, sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. That's because Mike was smart this time. He took ZzzQuil Ultra to fall asleep fast, stay asleep longer, and get the deeply restorative sleep he needs. So now he wakes up refreshed and ready to conquer Mondays.
Let's do this Monday.
ZzzQuil Ultra. Not for colds, just for sleep. Really great sleep. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Join the fun on DraftKings Casino, ranked the #1 online casino experience. They've got everything you've been searching for. Thousands of exciting games, huge jackpots, exclusive offers, and more. New players get a 10-day welcome offer, 500 spins on Huff and More Puff when you play just $5 to start. Download the DraftKings Casino app, sign up with code DK973, and spin your favorite slots. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older, physically present in New Jersey. Eligibility restrictions apply. New customers only. Non-withdrawable. Casino spins issued as 50 spins per day for 10 days. Valid for featured game only and expire each day after 24 hours. See terms at casino.draftkings.com/promos. Ends 8/24/25 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. #1 based on Eilers and Kraycheck 2H24 product analysis.
You're hanging with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM.
Hey, you know what? There's another name you might know me by. Star-Lord.
And on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Who? Star-Lord, man. Legendary outlaw.
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
Josh Hennig back here on 97.3 ESPN along with my special co-host for the day, Kevin Durso. We are live in the Dr. Squatch virtual studios on YouTube and X at Josh Hennig. Joining us right now, as promised, on the phone line, she covers the Phillies for The Athletic, and she was in the house when Joanne Duran made the triumphant entrance to Philadelphia. You can read more about it in her article over at The Athletic, which I am a subscriber to, by the way. All of you should be subscribers as well. Charlotte Barnes joins us here on 97.3 ESPN. Charlotte, welcome in. How you doing today?
Thank you. I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
For you, obviously you've been covering this team throughout the year, and, just talk about the dichotomy being in the building. Like, everyone who wasn't there last night can see on television. They're seeing, everyone's sharing the YouTube clips. But talk about just the difference between the mishmash of guys who have come in at the end of a game, right? The Jordan Romanos, the Matt Stroms, the Ryan Kerkering. And now it's Duran and the entrance and the energy. Like, at least for us watching on television, it looked like it was like a night and day electricity.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly how it felt. And I think part of that is in the entrance. I mean, at CBP earlier this year, I think they did a good job with when Jordan Romano was briefly closing some games. They did a good job with his entrance. But there's a lot to be said just about the electricity that remix brings and turning the lights off and tolling the bell. It really feels like you are about to see a show. And that's what it is watching Duran pitch. It was just incredible. I mean, four pitches and the game's over. I mean, I think I saw on Twitter that the actual entrance ended up being longer than his outing. And it never felt like it was in doubt for a second. It felt like a very, very stress-free inning, which cannot be said for sometimes in late game situations this year. And I covered the A's last year, and it felt very akin to watching Mason Miller come in with the entrance and just knowing that this guy is not going to be hit off of. It was very fun to watch.
You just mentioned about how the different guys who came in earlier this year, looking back at the deadline, obviously Duran getting picked up was, obviously the big move by Dombrowski. Looking back now, obviously, it looks like it was the right move. But looking back, is there a part of you that looked at maybe the moment that trade happened on Wednesday evening to then watching him come in last night? Is there a part of you that said, this is kind of what I thought it was going to be like, or did it maybe exceed even your expectations?
Yeah, I felt like it exceeded expectations because, of course, I knew the name Duran, but I haven't watched a ton of the AL Central, so I wasn't really familiar with his game other than knowing that he was an excellent closer. So getting to see him in person, it really crystallized that it felt like the right choice. And I think at the time when I saw the prospects they traded, obviously Taid is a very strong prospect, and McAble has upside as a mid-rotation starter with some big league experience. I mean, those pieces are kind of hard to give up, but the Phillies have a lot of strength at the major league level right now. And when you're a team with World Series expectations, you want to have a guy like Duran on your roster for sure. And I think that having a set closer like him, I think especially after watching him last night, after some of the stress of the late innings earlier this year, I think it really crystallized that having a set closer can be really, really important for your club.
Hey, Charlotte, I wanted to bring up you just established having the set closer. One of the guys who may be leading into the closer role is David Robertson when he comes up eventually. How do you see him fitting into that back end of the bullpen and kind of that bridge to Duran?
Yeah, I think he could be a leverage guy, potentially seventh, maybe the eighth inning. He didn't have his best day at Lehigh Valley yesterday, and we actually just talked with Rob Thompson about half an hour ago, who said he doesn't think that he's going to be ready by, I think the day was August 5th, that he was going to be eligible to come back up here. And just looking at him right now, they like his velocity. They're not loving where his command is, or at least in the outing yesterday. And it's basically his spring training. So I think it's kind of hard to set expectations at this point, but he has obviously been excellent in the past. I could definitely see him seventh, eighth inning guy. Just needs to get a hold of his command. And I think once he's past this sort of spring training period, it takes a little longer than the Phillies expected. He could be a strong part of late innings in the Phillies bullpen.
Charlotte Vaughn from The Athletic joining us here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. Josh and Kevin Durso hanging out with you in the 97.3 ESPN studio. Charlotte, overall, obviously Duran gives the Phillies more structure with the bullpen. We know that, Rob Thompson and Dave Dombrowski have talked about Kerkering and about Strom's roles. What do you project is going to be the typical usage for the other guys? Because, guys like Tanner Banks are out there. Jordan Romano, what do you really think is going to be his job moving forward? Do you think it's a scenario for example, Kerkering pitched yesterday. So, do you think someone now becomes the Kerkering today? How do you foresee this?
Yeah, I've been really impressed by Max Lazar, and obviously he had a bit of a blip in Chicago, and I don't think that's been explored a ton because that was the day of the Duran trade, so I know everyone who was there was kind of focused on the trade rather than what had happened in the game, but I've just generally been really impressed. Last week against the Red Sox in one of those weird late inning games, he pulls out a splitter out of the blue because Real Muto says, hey, I think that the other team has something on you. And he just decides to throw the splitter, which he's never thrown at the major league level before. And I think that he's really gritty. Thompson likes him a lot. He says he's pretty cool on the mound, which I think is true. I think maybe he's not an ideal, maybe eighth inning guy. I think he would be great in the seventh. Same with Tanner Banks, who's just really, really stepped up. And I think similarly for Romano, maybe not as in close games, just because there have been some blips from Romano this year. But I could see him as a seventh inning guy, maybe games that aren't as close for the Phillies.
So Rob Thompson just said a few minutes ago also, it was out there about Jose Alvarado. He'll be back in Philadelphia early next week, and then he's going to go on a rehab assignment. He's obviously not eligible for the postseason, but what do you see his role being once he comes back into this? Is it somebody that they would want to leverage and put in high leverage situations because he's familiar with it, or because of that lack of ability to play in the postseason this year, would it be something else?
Oh, I absolutely think he is a high leverage guy. I think that they said they're aware of his throwing right now and just the ramp up period that he's had. And I think when he's back, they're going to slot him kind of in those high leverage situations just because that's what they come to expect from him, even if they're not going to be able to use him in the postseason.
You mentioned about the high leverage. Some of the things that we've at least projected about is, the Phillies are basically going to use him up. Like, they're going to basically run him out there until the wheels come off. But I think the bigger concern, Charlotte, is the fact that, Rob mentioned that he's coming back into town before he goes on the rehab assignment. Charlotte, when he first got popped with the PED suspension, he kind of ran away. He kind of got out of town as fast as possible. I'm not in the locker room, so maybe you could answer this question. Do you think part of this is maybe bringing Alvarado in to talk to his teammates maybe before he goes on the rehab assignment?
I don't think he'll talk with the teammates, and that's just a guess, really. I think that he's going to meet with Rob and certainly the Phillies brain trust just to figure out. I mean, they're aware of kind of his throwing and everything he's been doing while he's been suspended. But I think more so it's going to be to figure out what the plan is for just rehab assignment isn't the right word, but just his ramp-up period, because he's going to be eligible to pitch in the minor leagues or not, just ramp up in a few days' time. And I think it's mostly going to be that. I was 1 week in on the job, actually, when Alvarado got suspended. So that was definitely a bit shocking and big news to handle my first week on the job. So I feel like I can't really speak to the teammates part of it in the clubhouse.
Totally understand. Charlotte Barnes from The Athletic joining us here on 97.3 ESPN. Something you can speak to is yesterday when Rob Thompson was asked about Max Kepler, and he brought up that, Kepler's been hitting the ball hard, and then what does he do that day? He hits the ball hard and gets caught in the outfield. There's a lot of Phillies fans who like the question and I couldn't see who asked the question yesterday because with the way the camera was set up. I'm sure you're familiar with this, Charlie. No one can actually ask questions of Rob Thompson the way these cameras are set up. But, it's one of those deals where it's like the question was like, hey, a lot of Philly fans do not like Max Kepler. And it was like Thompson wouldn't even acknowledge that. It's very perplexing to get a guy like Harrison Bader and then not play him on day one, and then the very next day he's in the lineup. What is your take on the Kepler-Bader outfield dynamics?
Yeah, I think kind of the sense I got yesterday from just Rob Thompson and just watching the game in general, I think they're going to run it out the next few days or next 6 days and just see how things play out with kind of the left field dynamic. Obviously, Bader is starting today. I think they are like Kepler. I mean, I thought that ball was gone yesterday that he hit early in the game. It felt like a home run off the bat, and obviously it wasn't. And I think there is some point to he has been swinging the bat well or better than he has been. I still think that Bader is obviously an upgrade, both in the field, both at the plate. And I think they're going to give it about 6 days just to see how it kind of looks, playing different, with all them playing these different outfield positions. And I think there's potentially that before they go to Texas, they kind of look at the week Kepler's had, they look at the week Bader's had, and just assess their outfield. And I mean, I think there's a really big potential that they call Justin Crawford up ahead of this Texas trip and this 10-day road trip.
That's interesting you mentioned that, because Crawford is the guy people have been questioning when they call him up. Do they call him up before August 15th, for example? Because that's kind of hanging around that 45-day window for the rookie eligibility. So, do you think the Phillies are keeping in factor that, hey, we don't want to start this guy's clock too soon? Or are the Phillies saying, who cares about his clock? We're trying to win ball games.
Yeah, I would say it's more the latter. And I think they're looking at Justin. I think that even Rob talked yesterday. I think that they want him to see a little more work in center field. And I think likely if he is called up, he's pulled up into left field just because they feel a little bit more comfortable with him there. I mean, Dombrowski said the other night as we kind of just went over the trade deadline group of reporters with him, he said that they feel comfortable with Crawford playing at the major league level. They feel that he's ready. I think just like I said, I think they kind of want to see these next days out. And I know in the past the Phillies have been slower maybe to part with some players, and they give people a lot of time. And like they said, I think they've kind of liked what they've seen from Kepler at the plate lately, even if it's maybe not resulting in hits necessarily. They're liking that a little bit better, so they're giving him a little bit of runway. But I do think they feel comfortable enough to where if this week passes and things are about the same, with Kepler's, they've been the entire season, I think there's a chance he maybe is DFA'd and Crawford is called up, and just because they feel they like Crawford a lot and feel really comfortable about where he is at the plate and his defense and left.
You mentioned about Dave Dombrowski. Obviously, at his press conference, he talked about on the Zoom call that they want Crawford playing every day, that they're not going to call him up to just be a part-time player. So in your mind, and obviously you can't read Dombrowski or Rob Thompson's mind, obviously, but just in your looking at it, if they were to call Crawford up and they were to DFA Max Kepler, just to go with that scenario, do you think Crawford is the everyday center fielder? Does he bump Marsh to left field and then Bader and Marsh would be the platoon? Like, what do you think makes the most sense under the context that Dombrowski says Crawford needs to play every day?
Yeah, I think it would probably make the most sense given just kind of what they've said about his defense and center. I think it would make sense for him to potentially be the everyday left fielder, and obviously Bader is an excellent center fielder. That's where he won his Gold Glove in 2021. I think it would make a lot of sense to potentially platoon him and Marsh in center field, and then give Crawford everyday reps and left, trying to get him acclimated to the big leagues.
Interesting. Charlotte of Orange, you can check out all of her work in The Athletic. Of course, you are not subscribed to The Athletic. You should be like I am and check out all the coverage of the Phillies in The Athletic. And she joined us right here on 97.3 ESPN. Charlotte, great stuff. Really appreciate you jumping on. We'll talk soon.
Yep, appreciate it. Thanks so much, Josh.
Josh Hennig along with Kevin Durso over here in the 97.3 ESPN studios. Great stuff from Charlotte joining us here on 97.3 ESPN. Back to the text board coming up next at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Evan from Little Lake Harbor. I am still confused what he is trying to say. Maybe Kevin Durso can help me decipher it on the other side here on 97.3 ESPN.
Swing and a high fly ball out towards left field.
This weekend on ESPN Radio.
On its way, out of here, Kyle Schwarber.
Two of baseball's best go head-to-head. The Detroit Tigers storm into Philadelphia to face the Phillies.
Home run to right, Riley Green.
The Tigers at the Phillies. Coverage begins today at 3:30 Eastern and tomorrow at 6 Eastern. It's Phillies baseball on 97.3 ESPN.
For 23 years, we've helped athletes at all levels at Clemic Performance Method, from youth to pros, increase maximum velocity, acceleration, vertical leaps, and general physical preparedness. We offer youth, high school, and pro college classes. Our proven results have earned national recognition from NFL coaches, sponsors, and a feature on ESPN Radio's Sports Science segment. You can contact me directly at 609-742-6190, or as always, visit us on our website, ClemicPerformanceMethod.com.
Popsicles, sprinklers, a cool breeze. Talk about refreshing. You know what else is refreshing this summer? A brand new phone with Verizon. Yep, get a new phone on any plan with Select Phone Trade-In and My Plan. And lock down a low price for 3 years on any plan with My Plan. This is a deal for everyone, whether you're a new or existing customer. Swing by Verizon today for our best phone deals. 3-year price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate only. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.
Life doesn't wait, and neither should you. Aleve can help you deal with pain less throughout your day. Whether it's a long day on your feet, a demanding workout, or everyday aches and pains, you need relief that can keep up when pain persists. Aleve is here for you with longer-lasting body pain relief compared to leading OTC-branded pain relievers. With just one pill, Aleve lasts up to 12 hours. Don't let those aches hold you back from doing what's important to you. Use as directed.
Looking for the ultimate sports bar experience? Welcome to Ventnor Social, Down Beach's newest upscale sports bar. Watch every play on 27 big screen TVs with a state-of-the-art sound system that puts you right in the action. Grab a cold drink, savor American eats and fresh seafood, and don't miss their unbeatable lunch, happy hour, and dinner specials. Enjoy live music on the open-air deck, an arcade for the family downstairs, and video games that will level up your night. Ventnor Social on Ventnor Avenue. Visit their Facebook page for up-to-date info and specials.
Do Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keep coming back? Tremfya, guselkumab, may help with rapid remission achieved at 12 weeks and lasting clinical remission at 1 year. Some even saw visible improvement of their intestinal lining at 12 weeks and 1 year. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya. Approximately 3 out of 10 patients were in endoscopic remission at 1 year, based on areas visualized on colonoscopy, which may not represent the deeper bowel layer or entire GI tract. Individual results may vary. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
With Progressive's Home Quote Explorer, you can easily find the right home insurance for you, even if it's not with Progressive. But if you don't choose us, then sure, okay, it's not going to work out. We're not going to cry about it or stay awake wondering what our future together would have looked like. We can't get emotionally invested even if it sounds like we are. Progressive's Home Quote Explorer allows you to easily compare home insurance rates and coverages in one place, even if it's not with us. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy. I love you. I shouldn't have said that.
Change is always happening. It's part of life. And when it comes to music, change is all around us. Songs are rewritten. Classics are remixed. Bands and artists come and go. Even our taste in music changes. Here at Xfinity, we know there's still good in keeping some things the same. That's why we want to do our part with a 5-year price guarantee on our internet. It means no matter what changes, you get 5 years of the most reliable Wi-Fi with our best equipment included for a price that stays exactly the same. Surprised? Life is full of them. One internet price, 5 years, guaranteed. Learn more at xfinity.com/deals. Restrictions apply. New residential customers only. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. Most reliable Wi-Fi based on OpenSignal Awards USA. Fixed Broadband Experience Report, August 2024.
Now back to Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM.
I don't want them to gain another yard.
And on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
You blitz all night!
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
Josh Hennig back here on 97.3 ESPN, Hanging with Hennig. Kevin Durso for the full 3 hours, joining me in the studio. Now, Kevin, as promised.
Yeah, you've had me on edge with this for like 2 segments now. I got to know what this text is.
So, Evan in Little Lake Harbor. First of all, Evan, thank you for texting the show here on 97.3 ESPN. We also thank you because during the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, the Locker Room with Billy Schwein, and others, there are people who text in who don't leave their name. So the fact you put your name on it, I give you a ton of credit. Respect. But I am so confused about this text.
Okay.
Because we were talking about the Eagles.
Yeah.
To start the hour. So at 1:05 p.m., just to give you context.
Okay.
Evan, okay. So we were kind of like ramping into our Eagles training camp.
Yeah, we were pretty much barely into it at that point. Yeah.
Right. Evan from Little Lake Harbor chimes in.
Okay.
Josh, all caps. The rest is lowercase. Okay. But Josh is caps.
Okay.
So I'm viewing this as Josh. Then he goes on. You Eagle fans, daydreaming about Micah Parsons is cute. That's got a better chance of happening than Joel Embiid lasting a full season through. See you in primetime football. Evan from Little Lake Harbor. So there's a lot there.
There is a lot there.
So first of all, Micah Parsons' name has not come up on this show.
Nope.
Until Evan from Little Lake Harbor's text was read at 1:48 p.m. Number one. Number two. Who are the Eagle fans daydreaming about Micah Parsons coming to Philadelphia?
Oh, that's a generalization because that's social media driven.
Okay, because
I've seen it all over the place, and there's a lot of people who are having to like jump in and say like being realistic about how they would never trade a player of that caliber interdivision.
Well, there's that, but also I hate to break it to Evan Little Lake Harbor. I don't think the Eagles want him.
Okay.
Here's why. The Eagles called about Myles Garrett and Trey Hendrickson.
Mm-hmm.
apparently both the Bengals and Browns were not willing to negotiate with the Eagles.
Right.
Now, we found out later it was because the Browns were going to give Garrett that big contract.
Right.
And with Hendrickson, apparently the Bengals were asking for the moon and the stars.
Yeah.
And Howie was only willing to offer the farm. So Howie was like, yeah, I'm not doing what you think he's worth.
Right.
And so if the Eagles were not willing to get those guys when they were available, why would they give the Cowboys anything from Micah Parsons?
True.
That's part of it. Now, Micah Parsons is a Penn State alumni. I totally get that. There's the regional connection. There's speculation that he's secretly an Eagles fan, blah, blah, blah. As we know, being an Eagles fan is not a prerequisite for being an Eagle.
Yeah.
Okay? So I'm not going to act like Parsons. For example, Saquon did not grow up as an Eagles fan.
Right.
Jalen Hurts did not grow up as an Eagles fan. A.J. Brown did not grow up as an Eagles fan. They're three of the best players on the offense. Why do I care that Parsons went to Penn State? Okay? Now, because people might be saying on social media, Evan and Little Egg Harbor, has no consequence on people like myself, or Kevin Durso, or Mike Gill, or Billy Schwein, or Nick Earnshaw, or anybody else on 97.3 ESPN.
Well, like one of them, like as soon as all this came up, because it was the order of events, right? It's Parsons is the day after McLaurin requests a trade, all that type of stuff, and similarly, you're not going to see McLaurin go interdivision either. It's not about that. But like as a joke in my head, I'm sitting thinking, by God, that's Howie Roseman's music. Like, you know, or like as a joke, because it's like everybody thinks.
What are you, JR now?
Yeah, I'm giving you that for you. That's about as far as and that's about as far as my wrestling knowledge is going to go. So there you go. But like my point being, every time anybody is making a request for a trade, everybody just expects Howie Roseman to jump as high as possible to make it happen, to move the earth and the sun and everything else, you know, to get that guy on there because he's available. You know, it's not that simple, and it's not always the best fit.
Now, Evan in Little Lake Harbor, who chimed in 609-403-0973, I don't think Evan was expecting to get as much airtime, but he's getting it.
Yeah.
Okay? Because this is funny. He went on to say that getting Micah Parsons for the Eagles has a better chance of happening than Joel Embiid lasting a full season through.
See, I'd say that's Joel Embiid catching strays here, but like I see the point of the comment.
But what I want to know is, how is that even equitable? Because Joel Embiid's availability has been the most erratic thing in Philadelphia. Like Joel Embiid having someone fall on his leg in the Warriors game 2 years ago was so bizarre. Him getting his face broken by 3 different players over a course of a 6-year period was totally incidental. I mean, I never even heard of Bell's palsy before he had it a couple of years ago. So, like, Embiid lasting is like the equivalent of going to the roulette table in Atlantic City.
Right.
And putting your hand over your face and guessing as the ball is going around and saying, red, no, black, no, I don't know. Like that's Embiid's availability. So the analogy might have sounded cute, to use your wording, Evan and Little Egg Harbor. You might have thought it was cute putting that in the text, but it makes no sense.
It also said like a better chance than Embiid making it through a full season, right?
Yes.
For Parsons. Then you might as well break out the Dumb and Dumber meme. So you're saying there's a chance, right? Like isn't the percentage of Embiid making it through an entire season anymore 0?
Yes.
So you're saying there's a chance.
So you're saying there's a chance that Micah Parsons is an Eagle. Got it. Good point by you, Kevin Durso, joining me here in the 97.3 ESPN studios, hanging with Hennig. I got to continue with the last part.
Okay.
See you in primetime football.
Yeah, that one I can't figure out either.
Now, I don't know. It sounds like Evan is not a Philadelphia sports fan. Okay.
Wait a minute. Now I did just figure it out. So the first game of the season is Eagles-Cowboys Thursday night. So there's primetime. There you go.
So it sounds like Evan is a Cowboys fan.
Probably.
Who is angry with social media, which, by the
way,
That
everybody's
Evan,
jumping and thinking that the Eagles have a chance at this.
Evan, I hate to let you know, social media is not the real world. Okay? I hate to break it to you, but the real world does not exist on X, Instagram,
Yeah,
TikTok,
it doesn't. That's
Facebook.
true.
It doesn't, okay? I'm letting you know that there's a lot of people who are just trolls online, who are out there to agitate people by saying weird and crazy stuff. So, Evan in Little Lake Harbor, Cowboys fan, obviously, I will let you know that we will see you in primetime football, opening night.
Mm-hmm.
But I hate to break it to you, but your team is still going to lose. Even though Micah Parsons is on the field.
Yeah.
Because the Eagles are the better team. Evan in Little Lake Harbor, number one. Number two, when you lost Lawrence this offseason, that was a bigger loss than anyone is actually willing to admit. He was the guy who took up a lot of attention to allow guys like Parsons to get to the quarterback. He was the guy, he was like Jalen Carter for the Eagles to an extent, where Jalen Carter opens the floodgates for guys like Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, and others to get to the quarterback. You lost that guy. And then on his way out the door to Seattle, he's throwing shots at your team.
Yeah.
Now Micah Parsons doesn't want to be in Dallas anymore. You've already had guys leave and complain about the Cowboys. Evan Little Lake Harbor, you know what's cute? That your owner is an imbecile. Okay? Your owner is more interested in being seen and heard than he is winning championships.
That's exactly it, because I don't remember who I saw it from, but somebody put out there that the whole point of this is it didn't matter. Jerry Jones is all about as long as people are talking about the Cowboys, any publicity is good publicity kind of deal. And the other part of it is that Micah Parsons posts what he posts and then brings along others for the ride. Like the next thing you know, CD Lamb's putting something out there in solidarity with Micah Parsons. And it's like, I wouldn't want my team to have 3-4 star players that are all in solidarity that they're not being shown their worth.
And by the way, Evan Little Lake Harbor, you know what's cute? To wrap it up. You know what team has never had these issues in the last 10 years? The Philadelphia Eagles. You don't see the Eagles owner blowing up negotiations.
Mm-hmm.
You don't hear about Howie Roseman letting chaos reign supreme. So Evan Little Lake Harbor, that is what is cute. But we thank you for allowing us to riff on it here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out in the Dr. Squatch virtual studios along with Kevin Durso. Third hour coming up. We'll get back into the Phillies and the Eagles conversation. Plus, Mark Romani, author of the new book, Say Hello to the Bad Guys. 29 years after Hulk Hogan changed the pop culture zeitgeist forever, we'll get into the impact that still reigns as Hulk Hogan passed away, coming up next hour on 97.3.
Listen up. The soap you shower with, it's you probably haven't even questioned what bar of soap you lather up with. Let's face it, most guys don't. But now you can upgrade your shower game with Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. I'm talking about natural, nourishing, cold-pressed, hand-cut soap for men. Men who use their hands. Men who build things. Men who catch foul balls without spilling their beer. You won't just smell good either. Your skin will be healthier and more nourished. We make our soaps with natural ingredients from the earth. Ingredients like oils, plants, goat's milk, Greek yogurt, oatmeal, shea butter, and citrus. Turn your shower game up to 11. Get ready to step out of the shower feeling alive.
Hey, this is Josh Hennig. Go to my social media and click my exclusive Dr. Squatch link for your chance to save $10 off your next order of great natural soap, deodorant, and much more. Only with Dr. Squatch.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you get coverage options based on how much you want to pay for car insurance. And then you decide how to spend the rest of your money, because you're in charge. Today, you're going to pay down your credit card bill. But you decide when you'll pay it. Before the due date, so those interest charges don't get you. But you decide if you pay it in full. But you definitely should, because again, interest charges. With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, we'll help you find coverage at a fair price. And then you're in charge. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
If you're 55 or older and into that whole saving money thing,
T-Mobile has an exclusive phone and internet bundle just for you. Right now, get 2 unlimited phone lines plus 5G home internet for just $30 each per month with autopay, plus taxes and fees. And with 5G home internet, setup is easy with just 1 cord and no technician needed, which is great if you're also into that whole keeping it simple thing. Switch now and experience the best mobile network in the U.S. Visit your local store to start saving. T-Mobile, it's better over here.
Based on analysis by Ookla Speed Test Intelligence data Q4 2024 to Q1 2025, Ookla trademarks used under license. Unlimited on our network. Customers on voice plan may notice speeds lower than other customers and further reduction if using more than 50 gigs a month due to data prioritization. Video streams and SD on this plan. Home internet pricing after $20 in monthly bill credit plus $5 per line without autopay. Debit or bank account required. See 5G device coverage and access details at T-Mobile.com.
Town Square Media has teamed up with Seize the Deal for unbeatable local offers on food and family fun in South Jersey. Right now, grab 2 $25 gift cards for just $25 to Twist Pretzel and Ice Cream. That's half price. Score deals at Tennessee Avenue Beer Hall in Atlantic City, where friends and family come together. The Ravioli House in Wildwood, serving up homemade Italian favorites. And Island Grill in Ocean City, the island's go-to for fresh seafood. Don't wait. These deals go fast. Visit seizethedeal.com today.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They got him again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Tipped in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
Finally! This is Hanging with Hennig.
I have friends everywhere.
On 97.3 ESPN Radio, South Jersey.
In New Jersey. Am I right? Yeah.
Live feed on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
It seems to run on some form of electricity. Well, you're not wrong.
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together.
Now, here's your host.
He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig back here for the third hour of Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. And as always, Hanging with Hennig is being brought to you by the best sports bar in South Jersey, yesterday's Creekside Tavern on Roosevelt Boulevard in Marmora, where when you go and watch the Phillies game coming up at 4 o'clock, if you're not listening on 97.3 ESPN, coverage begins at 3:30. We want to go out and watch the game. It will be on the TVs with the sound at yesterday's Creekside Tavern. Make sure you go and check out the smash burgers, the turkey BLT sandwiches, the great beers on tap as well. Some great local breweries on tap. And, of course, all the great bartenders and all the great staff down at yesterday's Creekside Tavern, Roosevelt Boulevard in Marmora. And don't forget the Yard. Live music every weekend. It's still summertime, folks, just because football is around. I got Kevin Durso nodding his head with his Philly dad hat, the Nick Foles hat.
Well, because as much as I agree, or would agree that listening on 97.3 ESPN to the Phillies coverage is always appreciated and great, if Yohan Duran comes into the game, you might want to be near a TV with the sound on, because you need to see that presentation. So it's a little bit of both.
Now, the problem is that when you have a day game.
Yes, that is.
Is it going to be late enough for the full effect?
Probably not for two reasons today anyway, because one, you are going to probably get one of the most efficiently pitched games you'll ever find.
Right.
With Wheeler and Skubal going.
It'll be done in like 2 hours.
This is the game that lasts 2 hours and 10 minutes because these two just go out and keep, what were all the score predictions today? Like Billy said 3-2. It's like, yeah, that's kind of the type of game you're going to get today, it feels like.
Which is actually funny because it might be less than that when you really think about it. Skubal, for those who don't know, if you haven't watched a lot of baseball outside the Phillies, Skubal might be the best pitcher in baseball.
Yeah.
Like, there's an argument to be made that he's better than Paul Skeens, that he's better than whoever you want to name. That Skubal right now is like the apex predator.
It's pretty much, you just gave pretty much the top three. It's Skubal, Skeens, and Wheeler's probably right up there based on the way he's.
Garrett Crochet's probably
been really
somewhere
good
in the conversation. And there's other guys as well, depending on who you ask, right?
Right.
Obviously, Christopher Sanchez having a great year himself, but Skubal is like on another level.
Yeah,
he is like and because you're our Flyers insider, 973 ESPN.com, to make the Flyers analogy, Skubal to me is like Draisaitl.
Okay.
Where he's like, when you need a moment, he gives you the moment.
I like the comparison for the other conference too. Like, it needs to be somebody who you don't see frequently. Like, Skeens would be your Crosby, for example, a guy who you could see on a regular basis. He's in your league, your conference, whatever you want to go with. And then you go to the guy on the other side who you would only really face in a significant situation if it was the finals.
And the reason why I went with Draisaitl is because I view McDavid more like Crochet, and that is Crochet might be the more quote-unquote gifted.
Right.
But Crochet sometimes has games where you're like, oh, well, that wasn't what I was hoping for.
It's fair.
Like in the Stanley Cup Finals, 2 straight years now, Draisaitl has been like God.
Yeah.
And McDavid has just kind of been there at times. And
I mean, McDavid did win a Conn Smythe as on a losing team, which is very rare.
True.
But that's also the whole playoff picture, not just the final either. So that's
Right.
the other part of the equation. I mean, I remember saying something during one of these games. I think it was Game 4 when Edmonton tied it up 2-2. That one of these two guys is probably going to have a moment for this to be a tied series, and then sure enough, there it was. So exactly to your point, yeah.
And that's why I say with baseball, it's like, again, baseball is a sport where individual has to have success, but if everybody else doesn't do the job, if one guy does his job and the other eight don't do their job, it doesn't matter.
Now, I don't know about you, but like these type of games to me, like I love a good pitching matchup. That's the way I feel about this.
Yeah.
So I love this type of matchup. I can't wait to see how this one plays out because of the fact that it's two top-notch pitchers in the game.
I just hope that Wheeler can maintain for the rest of the year, because he does have a legitimate chance of winning the Cy Young.
Sure.
And I would love to see him get a Cy Young. He keeps saying that he's going to retire in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to see this guy be one of these pitchers that, like, retires without a Cy Young. Like, I feel like it's – and listen, I want the Phillies to win a World Series. I'm not trying to delegitimize that.
Yeah.
But there is a part of me that looks at Wheeler and says the Cy Young is the real cap for your career. Because you look at a guy like Roy Halladay.
Mm-hmm.
Roy Halladay had a great career.
Yep.
But if you actually look at his numbers, he doesn't have the longevity of certain other guys.
Yeah.
And so those Cy Youngs, though, amplified him exponentially.
Sure, and not only that, but it was the hard crash at the end too for him in particular. Like,
well, he ran out of steam.
Sure,
basically.
it's all of that put together. Then that takes away from the longevity of it, and yes, you have all the great years, and no one here is going to forget 2010 and what he was able to do when he got here, and perfect game, and then a playoff no-hitter. Those are the moments. That's what makes a guy like that eventually. That's what puts you in the Hall of Fame, because you win the Cy Youngs. You have those. You're one of the rare perfect games. You're a playoff no hitter. That essentially never happens. Like all of those things. That's the lure of it. But he didn't have the longevity.
And I think that's where, for example, and I'm only using this as an example. Okay. What if I were to tell you that there is a pitcher with more wins than Roy Halladay?
Okay.
In his career, he has more strikeouts than Roy Halladay.
Okay.
And I mean significantly. Like 1,000 more strikeouts.
Okay.
Than Roy Halladay did.
Okay.
Now, he also pitched longer than Roy Halladay, because Roy Halladay has over 2,749 innings. This guy has 3,261 innings.
Okay.
So 1,000 more strikeouts, about 500 more innings,
okay,
more wins in his career, but he's not in the Hall of Fame. Halladay, he's got multiple Cy Youngs, right?
Yes.
But this other guy, he was an NLCS MVP, a World Series MVP, but never, ever, ever won a Cy Young.
Mm-hmm. Now I know who it is based on what you were saying there. I had a different guess at first.
Who am I talking about?
You gave it away with NLCS MVP and World Series MVP. It's got to be Cole Hamels.
Nope.
It's not? Wow. I thought for sure it was Cole Hamels. My first initial thought, and he doesn't have the.
This guy has way more innings and strikeouts.
The first guy who came into my head when you were saying that, and he doesn't have a World Series. He didn't even win a World Series, so it wouldn't be this guy. But the first name I thought of was Cliff Lee.
So it's not Cliff Lee either, but Cliff Lee would have been a solid move. No, it's Curt Schilling.
Okay.
But Curt Schilling never, ever, ever won a Cy Young. He was 4th in the Cy Young. Second.
See, it didn't pop into my head at first when you brought up the LCS MVP and World Series MVP because I didn't think they were. I immediately jumped to they're the same year and it's the same run. And I almost don't even think about Schilling's World Series as much because of it came with another team. It came once he was gone and was part of that.
But my
Arizona
point is that
thing.
Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you need certain markers.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
push you over the finish line. Right now, Zach Wheeler, okay? So if Wheeler maintains his averages, right? So since he joined the Phillies, we'll just go off of that because that's the majority of his success, right? In a Phillies uniform, he is averaging roughly 15 wins a year, okay? So let's say Wheeler finishes, because right now Wheeler has 9 wins, okay? Now, part of that because he doesn't always get run support, and that's not his fault. But let's say he gets to 15 wins again this year.
Right.
That's 6 more wins. He would then be at 118. If he has, let's say, 4 more 15-win seasons, I don't think he's going to pitch 4 more years, but let's just put it out there.
Sure.
Well, if you only have 4 more 15-win seasons, you're only at 60 more wins, Kevin.
Yeah.
That puts you at 172. You're not even near the 200 win mark. So if that guy, Zach Wheeler, for the amazing career he's had in Philadelphia, the only hope he has then of crossing that line is getting that Cy Young.
Yeah, and it has to have turned into that based on the way pitchers, and maybe not him. He's still got the innings count more than most guys do in the league today, but it's still part of the equation now. Like you get these situations where it used to be you're worried about getting to 200. It used to be 300 was the marker that like automatically put you in.
Correct.
Now it's guys who have 200 to 250 that are getting a serious look if they could back it up with both things. Back it up with the ERA and the strikeouts, but also the hardware.
And I'm glad you said that because one of his former teammates has the hardware, being Jacob deGrom.
Okay. Yeah.
DeGrom is never going to get to 200 wins.
No, definitely not.
He's not even at 100 wins yet, Kevin. He's got 94 wins since DeGrom. But because he plays on so many bad teams, right?
Right.
But he has 2 Cy Youngs.
2 Cy Youngs, Rookie of the Year, been in the run, certainly in the consideration for MVP. He has a top 5 MVP finish.
Correct.
Which you don't see that much from pitchers anymore. It's pretty rare to see guys go across the board. Yeah, it's interesting. That's probably your ticket is that you have to be that decorated as a pitcher.
And that's why I'm saying for me, I look at a guy like Wheeler, and I just want him to get that Cy Young.
Yeah.
Because even if he doesn't get to the Hall of Fame, I want something on his resume to delineate that he was one of the best pitchers in baseball. Because that is probably the easiest thing to do when it comes to delineating. People don't remember how great some of those Curt Schilling years were because he never won a Cy Young. And Curt Schilling was pitching in an era before we actually stopped caring about wins and losses.
Yeah.
We cared way too much about wins and losses in the 90s, okay? And Schilling had back-to-back 300 strikeout years.
Yeah.
And then it's not his fault that he pitched in the era of Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz, Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez.
Yeah.
5 Hall of Famers. And you're the 6th guy.
Yeah.
Like, that's tough. Okay? And by the way, at the same time, you're talking about an era where Roger Clemens had the comeback around, right? He won a couple Cy Youngs. So now you lose to him. And baseball was at a weird transition because you had all these hard throwers, and you happened to be one of many hard-throwing guys. So then what differentiated Schilling? He was a winner in the postseason, right? But he never won a Cy Young.
Right.
And that will always be held against him, whether it's fair or not. And I know some people bring up, his personal politics and the off-the-field stuff. I think as time goes on, that will be less important. Because for those who don't remember, but my frequent guest, Rob Motti from the Associated Press, he is a Baseball Hall of Fame voter because he covered the Phillies for so many years. He covered the Phillies and the Eagles for the AP before he went national AP senior NFL writer. But he still has a Hall of Fame vote. And Rob has talked about the fact that guys love resume more than anything else when it comes to this voting process. And so to me, I just don't want to see Wheeler finish his career with, let's say, 180 wins and a fantastic ERA, and he might have won a World Series. Maybe the Phillies doing a World Series. But if he doesn't get that Cy Young, people are going to be like, yeah, but.
Right.
Forever.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. And guess what? Wheeler's not going to have Verlander or Scherzer numbers at the end. Those guys played long enough, they pitched long enough to get the numbers. And Wheeler is going to have more great seasons than a Tim Lincecum, for example. He's going to have more great years than a Zach Greinke. He's going to have more high-level years than a Felix Hernandez. And what do all three of those guys have in common?
Cy Young.
Cy Young.
Yeah. I was just about to go there, too, because I'm looking at CC Sabathia went in this year, won a Cy Young.
Yep.
Felix Hernandez won a Cy Young.
Do you really think CC Sabathia is a Hall of Famer if he doesn't have the Cy Young?
It's close, yeah. Because he doesn't have the traditional, he broke 3,000 strikeouts, so that does help.
Yes.
But he has 251 career wins, so it's it's not that cut and dry 300 number that was out there for so long.
I mean, I do give him credit that the longevity is there for him.
Yes.
And Wheeler's going to get past 2,000. I feel pretty comfortable saying that. The way his career is trending.
So I think Felix is the perfect guy that you're comparing to because 169 wins, 2,524 strikeouts. These feel like numbers that are on par
with Zach Wheeler.
With Zach Wheeler, and it's again, would you consider Felix Hernandez to be a potential Hall of Famer?
Nope.
Not immediately, but he's got a Cy Young. He threw a perfect game at one point in time.
Right.
These things
Once
in lore.
you start presenting the resume.
Right. These things in lore that don't happen that frequently. And Cy Young is every year, obviously, but you get a Cy Young, you get an award, you do something like throw a perfect game, and all of a sudden, you're way more likely to get there because you've done something that not many have done.
And I think, again, that's where Halladay comes into the conversation.
Sure.
Because Halladay, 203 wins he finished with? So, he doesn't have – CC Sabathia's got better numbers than Roy Halladay does. But Halladay's peak was so great, and he won the Cy Youngs. And he's got the stupid number seasons, right, with the whip and the strikeouts and the ERA. That, he, after a while – as Rob Motti would say, the resume became undeniable. I remember that we interviewed Tim Kirch in the past about this because we've talked about, is Chase Utley a Hall of Famer, right? And it's with the passing of Ryan Sandberg recently, people forget that Sandberg for a time was considered the greatest second baseman of all time.
Right.
And everyone was measured against him. Now, obviously it's debatable now who really is, who isn't, because, people have more information because of WAR and all these analytics. But the idea was that Sandberg, he hit the average, he hit the home runs, he hit the RBI, he hit the on-base percentage numbers, but he played on a bad team for so many years. Utley played on a good team, but Utley was the most beloved of the big three.
Yeah.
But overall, his career is third of the big three because what does he not have? The hardware.
The individual awards. You're behind two MVPs, exactly. And that's the thing. It's funny you say that because Utley was my guy when watching that team. I loved the way he played, loved all that type of stuff. And then, you get to it. You get to that point where, but Rollins had the MVP run, and Rollins was also and this is kind of a good thing with him going on the Wall of Fame too this weekend. He was the vocal leader of the team. He was the guy who actually came out and said, we're the team to beat, and then backed it up with the type of season that he had. And Howard was the guy beforehand. It's also interesting to look at, I look at that Ryan Howard MVP season in particular, because a lot of people start to bring Schwarber's name into the MVP conversation this year, and I sit there and I go, at some point in time, the numbers that he was up to, he's at 37 home runs now. He was on a clip where he was 20 fairly early, 25 early, and it's get ready, Ryan Howard. You might have company with the only other Philly who hits 50 in a season.
By the way, Steven Bender brought up another name of a guy who's
Sure.
never going to get into the Hall of Fame, in part because he doesn't have a Cy Young.
Okay.
Mark Burley.
Yeah, that's a good one. And Burley's beloved with the Chicago White Sox.
Chicago.
He just got a statue fairly recently.
He did get a statue. It's the only thing they have to celebrate out there.
Yeah.
But guess what? Burley's got 214 wins. He's got more wins.
Burley's also got a
than Roy
perfect game
Halladay.
and a no-hitter. So he's got two separate things that go on the resume like that, but he doesn't have...
He has 600 more innings.
Wow.
Than Halladay. And I'm looking at the strikeouts. Now, he's marginally ahead in the strikeouts. Not enough for
So it's not a... Yeah.
But the innings are pretty significant. Burley was not a strikeout guy. Now, the biggest problem for Burley is the ERA. The ERA in some of these seasons, Schilling has a way better ERA than Burley does here. I mean, Burley's got, what is it? I'm looking at 1, 2, 3. Burley has 5 seasons with an over 4 ERA. So I think the ERA probably hurts Burley more than anything else. But as you said, beloved in Chicago, won a World Series. How many Gold Gloves did he win?
I got 4.
4? I feel like it might have been more than that.
4 Gold Gloves. It looks like a 5-time All-Star.
Yeah.
But and there you go. Look at this. The best he ever finished in Cy Young voting was 5th.
Schilling finished better than that.
Right. Like
Schilling's got 3 times he finished second.
Well, and this is the thing to your point about Zach Wheeler maybe getting a Cy Young is he's finished runner-up twice. So you're right there on the cusp of it. It looks like it could be your year, and it's not. That's another part of it. Burley doesn't even make it out into the top 5 more than once. It's a little different.
Yeah. He's Kevin Durso hanging out with me, Josh Hennig, at 97.3 ESPN. Thanks to Steven Bender for chiming into the conversation. Coming up on the other side, though, sports, entertainment, pop culture, it all collides with pro wrestling. Even someone like Kevin Durso knows who Hulk Hogan is, okay? It's part of the cultural vernacular, right? We all know who these people
Sure.
are.
In my very limited wrestling knowledge, I do know who Hulk Hogan is.
You know, it's like I mean, I'm not putting you in this category, but I always called it the does your mom know who this athlete is kind of conversation. You know, if your mom doesn't know who the person is, it might not matter. Maybe not my mom, because my mom probably knows more about some of the sports stuff than some of the. But the average person might not know all about pro wrestling. But 29 years ago, Hulk Hogan became the bad guy. It changed pop culture, entertainment, everything for all time. And the author of the new book, Say Hello to the Bad Guys, Mark Raimondi, joins us next to talk about it on the day of SummerSlam is in New Jersey, by the way, tonight and tomorrow. John Cena, 29 years after Hulk Hogan became the bad guy, he's the big name in WWE. He became the bad guy. We'll draw the threads coming up next. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN.
Towards left field.
This weekend on ESPN Radio.
On its way, out of here, Kyle Schwarber.
Two of baseball's best go head-to-head. The Detroit Tigers storm into Philadelphia to face the Phillies.
Home run to right, Riley Green.
The Tigers at the Phillies. Coverage begins today at 3:30 Eastern and tomorrow at 6 Eastern.
It's Phillies baseball on 97.3 ESPN.
Your go-to spot at the Jersey Shore to watch sports is also the Can't Miss Summertime Hangout for live music and great times in South Jersey. Yesterday's Creekside Tavern on Roosevelt Boulevard in Marmora features The Yard, with an outside bar, TVs, and live music on stage every weekend. So bring your friends to cheer on your favorite team, watch the sunset on the back deck, and make new summer memories in The Yard. You can do it all at Yesterday's Creekside Tavern in Marmora. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram to learn about upcoming events and specials all summer long at Yesterday's Creekside Tavern in Marmora.
For 23 years, we've helped athletes at all levels of Climbing Performance Method, from youth to pros, increase maximum velocity, acceleration, vertical leaps, and general physical preparedness. We offer youth, high school, and pro college classes. Our proven results have earned national recognition from NFL coaches, sponsors, and a feature on ESPN Radio's Sports Science segment. You can contact me directly at 609-742-6190, or as always, visit us on our website, climbingperformancemethod.com.
Do Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keep coming back? Tremfya, guselkumab, may help, with rapid remission achieved at 12 weeks and lasting clinical remission at 1 year. Some even saw visible improvement of their intestinal lining at 12 weeks and 1 year. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya. Approximately 3 out of 10 patients were in endoscopic remission at 1 year, based on areas visualized on colonoscopy, which may not represent the deeper bowel layer or entire GI tract. Individual results may vary. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
Town Square Media has teamed up with Seize the Deal for unbeatable local offers on food and family fun in South Jersey. Right now, grab 2 $25 gift cards for just $25 to Twist Pretzel and Ice Cream. That's half price. Score deals at Tennessee Avenue Beer Hall in Atlantic City, where friends and family come together. The Ravioli House in Wildwood, serving up homemade Italian favorites. And Island Grill in Ocean City, the island's go-to for fresh seafood. Don't wait. These deals go fast. Visit seizethedeal.com today.
Let's bring the nail gun over here.
Jose stands tall atop his sustainable flooring company.
Totally. It's renewable and moisture resistant, but we have several green options too. Or we got some beautiful reclaimed oak.
But floored by his success, he needs to hire more installers.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Comcast Business High Five Hotline. What's the state of your excitement?
I signed my business up for the 5-year price lock guarantee, and I can't stop high-fiving people. High five!
Okay, deep breath.
High five.
You're in a good place. You signed your business up for 5 years of gig speed internet and advanced security, all on our ultra-reliable network.
Gig speeds and advanced security? I'm so stoked.
Yep, and you get it at a great rate that's locked in for 5 years.
Woo!
The high five is just your body's way of saying, I'm winning.
So this is natural.
High-fiving everyone you see in a state of business savings enthusiasm? Totally natural.
Sweet! Thank you! Thank you! High five, everybody! High five!
The Comcast Business 5-year price lock guarantee is back, but only for a limited time, so sign your business up today.
High five!
Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Ends 9/21/25 for new customers with qualifying bundle. Current customers may be eligible depending on services and area. Guaranteed rate applies to monthly service charge, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
Now back to Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
And on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
Josh Hennig hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN. As promised, joining us right now, we are on the weekend of SummerSlam invading New Jersey. And, you know, with John Cena, he's the big storyline right now in WWE. We are 29 years removed, though, away from the original great heel turn. And, you know, it's sad that Hulk Hogan passed away recently. Obviously, at 71 years old, he was a huge part of the trajectory of pro wrestling. And 29 years ago, he made the original heel turn that changed everything when NWO became part of pop culture forever. And the man to write about the new book that just came out, Say Hello to the Bad Guys, Mark Romani. You might know him for a long time covering MMA and the UFC. He now covers the Atlanta Falcons for ESPN.com. He also writes about the WWE, and he has a new book come out. And Mark, first of all, I appreciate you jumping on. This book is absolutely incredible. You done a great job chronicling everything, and it's just amazing that 29 years after Hulk Hogan made the great heel turn, we are now watching John Cena with his heel turn run. How you doing today, Mark?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me, Josh.
So for you, you know, obviously you didn't know John Cena was going to turn heel, but was there a part of you that looked at Cena doing what he's doing now, and then in your mind you're like, man, this book is the perfect parallel for this because there's so many connections?
Yeah, absolutely, and you can't plan on you know, when a book comes out, of course, because I've been working on it since 2021, so it's been a 4-year process. And I guess by good fortune, Josh, John Cena turns heel earlier this year. And the immediate comparison, and rightfully so, is the Hulk Hogan heel turn in '96, because that was, like you said, the gold standard of heel turns, the biggest heel turn ever. And John Cena's was pretty darn close, because he was a guy that was the hero, the babyface, the good guy for 25 years. And I think people had kind of conceded that he would never turn heel after becoming that face of the WWE, in the same way that no one really thought Hulk Hogan would turn heel after being the face of WWF. And here we are, so it did work out kind of ironically.
And that's where I wanted to start with, because you mentioned Hogan. You document in the book that there was a time that Hogan wanted to turn bad guy. He wanted to do different things earlier in his career, and then WWF was against it. Looking back on that, Mark, is it maybe a conversation to be had that maybe Hogan should have done this earlier than WCW? Or do you think WCW, Bash at the Beach, and the NWO, was that the right place at the right time?
Well, it was absolutely the right place at the right time. And because, Josh, we're talking about this 29 years later, so it obviously made a pretty incredible impact, at that time in '96. I think that Hogan's instincts were correct, though, because he did want to turn heel after losing to Ultimate Warrior in 1990 at WrestleMania. And that was kind of his idea. And Vince McMahon said, I don't think it's the right time for that. But, Hogan's ability, and I've had so many people ask me over the last few months while I'm doing this book tour and then this press, what made Hulk Hogan special? And my answer to them is always something that is a little bit harder to put a finger on than just, oh, he was this, he was that. I think that Hulk Hogan's greatest gift was understanding what fans wanted and being able to harness that while in the ring as a wrestler, while in the ring doing a promo, and also outside of the ring, creatively. And I think that he knew in '90 that a change might have been a good idea, and it didn't work out then. And then, he goes to WCW in '94, and it's a good refresher for him, right? Because he's kind of doing the same shtick. He's still doing the Hulkamania stuff as the good guy, but it's in a new company. There are different, he has different opponents. So it's a little bit rejuvenating for him and for the product of WCW. But then after a while, that goes away, right? The new car smell wears off. And then you have to think about, what is the next act? How does he evolve from there? And it ended up being the biggest heel turn ever, and one that is still, you still feel the ramifications of that heel turn and this NWO storyline now almost 3 decades later.
You talk about in the book how everywhere you went, you found people who either wearing NWO shirts, giving you the Wolfpack symbol, pointing to your NWO shirt, and being like, maybe humming the music, right? For you, was it almost like as you wrote this book, as you worked on it, was there almost a part of you that was like, I didn't even fully realize the depths of this impact?
100%. And that was a lesson that I learned, Josh. Like I said, when like you just said that I wrote in the book, wearing an NWO hoodie on all of my road trips while I went to cover UFC events was so illuminating for me, because it really was almost every single time at the airport or at a gas station or at a random place to eat in wherever, in the United States and in Canada, that people would recognize the logo and say something and throw up the Wolfpack gesture. And, it was so cool to experience that, because it allowed me to kind of connect with my audience. That when you're writing a book, it's not that's kind of like a nebulous concept. Like, who am I writing for? What is my audience? And as I'm meeting these people at the airport, that's my audience, right? Those are the people that I want to write for. The people that, they may not have watched wrestling for the last 25 years, but when they were watching wrestling back in the 90s when the NWO started, it meant a great deal to them, so much so that they carried it with them to today. And that was one of my hypotheses for the entire book, because the subtitle is how the New World Order changed America. And that's why that's the subtitle, because all of these people who are just regular folks now, they may not even be wrestling fans anymore, but they were watching back then, and they took what they learned and what they watched, that entertainment, and they brought it with them now as adults to whatever, whatever they're doing now in the workforce. That's with them. The NWO is with them. The Attitude Era is with them, and that's one of the key parts of the book is how it shaped culture.
Mark Raimondi joining us here on 97.3 ESPN. The new book is Say Hello to the Bad Guys, plural, by the way. Mark Raimondi, who covers the Atlanta Falcons and WWE and more for ESPN.com. When you think about, you mentioned the cultural impact on America, I think one of the biggest things, and I'm only up to chat later in the book, but I think that one of the cultural impacts was it became cool for the anti-hero to be the hero. And we've seen like the rise of like comic book movies in the 21st century and the popularity of, fringe characters like Blade, for example, right? The popularity of those characters, you almost can draw a connection to the NWO, and it was cool to be the NWO. It was cool to throw up the Wolfpack sign, whereas those type of concepts were very taboo before then.
100%, and that was why the NWO I think worked so well, because it was so of the time. And wrestling is I think the most like of the time entertainment medium, because it happens live every week, sometimes multiple times a week, right? And you can kind of ride the wave of what the fans want. And in the mid 90s, it was so clear that the fans wanted something else out of their wrestling, not the cartoony stuff that had come before it in the early 90s and in the 80s. They wanted something with more of an edge, because you saw pop culture changing. You saw music changing. It was no longer like the power ballads of the 1980s or the boy bands like New Kids on the Block of the early 90s. It was starting to become Nirvana and Pearl Jam, grunge music, gangster rap, NWA, Dr. Dre, West Side Connection, Ice Cube, right? Those were the ones that were becoming popular, and it was almost a counterculture revolution where everything got a little edgier, a little darker, a little grittier, and it gave way to the villain, like you said, and the anti-hero becoming the protagonist for the first time in wrestling at that level, because that's also what was going on in the world. And I always go back to this, Josh, like the 90s were so unique to me because everything was on television, and I was a kid. I was 11 years old when the NWO started, and then 2 years before that, or like a year and a half before that, was the O.J. Simpson trial, and that was almost like reality television because it was on court TV every single day. I'm like 9-10 years old. I'm home from school because it's the summer, and my mom has it on every single day. So I'm there, as a kid, watching a double murder trial involving one of like the country's great sports heroes, right? Like that was like so, you don't even realize as a kid like how like you lose your innocence almost like when you're a 9-year-old kid and you're hearing about murder every day. But that's kind of what was going on in the country. There were so many things that were more accessible to us. Like the 80s were a very like naive, innocent time. And the 90s were like, hey, in your face, the Menendez brothers, O.J. Simpson, murder, death, and that changes the culture. And I think, and I'm kind of deviating away from wrestling, but again, wrestling is able to harness that reality in a way, and that mood and that vibe of the culture, and that's where things were in the 90s. And the NWO was such a perfect way to channel and funnel that kind of like counterculture that was going on in the world and in the U.S. because they were the villains. They were doing bad things, but they were doing it in a cool way, and it made you intrigued and compelled by what they were doing. And you couldn't help but to root for them, even maybe against your better judgment. They were cool, so you wanted to cheer for them.
And I think that's where you mentioned about the music, about how one of the things I've learned from the book so far is I didn't realize how deep that guys like Kevin Nash and Scott Hall were into like that rap music scene, and how they basically brought some of that information like to Hulk Hogan. They're like, hey, Hulk, we need to introduce you to what's going on in pop culture now. And that's a pretty interesting concept because like the fact that Hogan had to be, for lack of a better term, explained to by Hall and Nash about like, hey, Hulkster, this is the world we live in now. And there was like, as you write in the book, Mark, there's a moment where Hulk Hogan was like, oh, now I understand.
Yeah, because look, think about who Hulk Hogan was by the mid '90s. He was a household name. He was a massive celebrity. He was no longer in touch with what was going on with the real world because he was kind of above it all, right? You know, when you're that level of a success and that level of a famous person, you kind of become detached from what's going on. And Hall and Nash were nowhere near as famous as Hulk Hogan, and they were more kind of like in touch with pop culture and popular music. So Hogan was, you know, he was almost like in Arrested Development a little bit from the 80s because that's when he became famous. And that was kind of the last time he was like a real member of society and not like a very rich and famous person. So Hall and Nash had to almost ground him a little bit, and they were very much into what was going on. Nash especially was very much into hip hop and rap, and that became a big part of the NWO. It was very much hip hop culture, you know, black culture, and they use a lot of that stuff in what they were doing, from the gestures to, you know, the For Life came from Mac 10, the rapper, and a lot of that stuff. And Hogan was kind of in many ways along for the ride with them trying to kind of coach him on A, how to be a heel, and B, how to be more relatable to America in 1996 and 1997 and beyond.
Couple more for Mark Romani from ESPN.com. Joining us here on 97.3 ESPN. The new book is Say Hello to the Bad Guys, 29 years from the greatest heel turn in sports entertainment when Hulk Hogan became the bad guy. You talked about, you know, all the interviews, all the traveling that you did for this book, Mark. I want to know for you, was there a conversation, an interview, an experience that really stood out to you the most in the process of writing this book?
One of my favorite interviews, Josh, was a guy that not a lot of wrestling fans know. They don't know his name, but they know his work. I'll put it that way. His name is Ellis Edwards, and he was the stunt coordinator for WCW throughout the 90s. And he was the guy that rigged up Sting every single Monday to come down from the rafters. They did it every single week. They were up there for many, many hours, you know, rigging him up before the show. And that is a guy that probably does not get enough credit, and he's not a guy that does a lot of interviews. And he was actually hired by WWF after the close of WCW to do their stunts, and he worked there for about 20 years. So he hasn't really been in the public eye so much, but his work was, I think, vital and integral to the feel and the vibe of the NWO, because he also did some of the early stunts of the NWO pulled off, like when the Outsiders and Six ran the Steiner Brothers off the road and they flipped the Steiner Brothers car. That was a stunt that was done by Ellis Edwards. And, you know, for the time in 1996 when that happened, that was like, holy crap. Like, this is like not any kind of wrestling that I've ever seen before. This is so unique, you know, like a car flipping over. Like, that had not been done before. And Ellis Edwards was a guy that, you know, he was a stunt coordinator, a Hollywood stunt coordinator for many, many years. He was the Baywatch stunt guy. So he had a world of experience that he brought to wrestling, and, you know, an element that didn't exist in wrestling before, you know, him and that period. And like the stories and the detail that he was able to go into about how he rigged up Sting and how they trained to even do that, and all the other things that he worked on with some of the vehicles that were used, like backstage and in the parking lots, and how he rigged those up and how they did those stunts. It was so fascinating to me because a lot of this story has been told before about 90s wrestling, but he has done so few interviews that it was like a treasure getting to talk to him, because he was able to kind of like fill in the blanks of so many things that people did not know about in my eyes.
Mark, before I let you go, because obviously I don't want to give away too much for the book, because I think everyone needs to read it, or like me, you're listening on Audible, just getting the full chronology, because you go way back into the origins of Hulk Hogan before he got to WCW, NWO, and everything. Looking at what John Cena is doing today, obviously this weekend is the huge SummerSlam here in New Jersey. When you look at what Cena's doing today and the quote unquote turning back the baby face that he's doing heading into SummerSlam, is there maybe some of what you're seeing that Cena is doing in 2025 is a bit him in the WWE learning from the mistakes of Hulk Hogan in WCW?
Potentially, I'm not sure if they're viewing it that way. I think that they were trying to come up with an idea for John Cena's farewell tour because this is his last year, right? He's retiring in December, and they wanted to come up with something different, something creative, and the idea was to turn him heel. And that was something that the fans have been calling on for so long. And the heel turn, I thought, was just exceptional. That angle was just phenomenal with The Rock and Travis Scott and Cody Rhodes, and they all played their parts perfectly. It hasn't been the greatest follow-up to that, though, right? I mean, Hogan turned heel, and the NWO became the focal point of WCW for years after that. When John Cena turned heel, he became a focal point, but The Rock disappeared. You've only seen Travis Scott once since then, right? I mean, it hasn't really been the full-throated, commitment that WCW had to the NWO. And maybe it didn't need to be, right, for WWE because they're doing so well. The rest of the card is doing so well, and there are other stars that have carried the programming. But I just don't feel like it's had the kind of impact that maybe they were hoping it would have, and certainly not the impact that the NWO with Hogan had. Now, I do think that I'm fascinated by where they go from here. I do think there'll be some more wrinkles to the story beginning this weekend, like you said, at MetLife Stadium in Jersey. And then, he's only got a few more months left. December is his last month. And I don't expect, Josh, that he'll retire as a heel. I think he'll go back to babyface. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen this weekend or it's going to happen a little bit down the road, but I just can't imagine that the last couple of months of John Cena's career are going to be as a heel getting booed. I don't think the fans want that. I really don't. In fact, I don't know if the fans have wanted that the entire year. I think that fans have pushed back against this heel turn. So I don't think it's really been the success that they were hoping it would be.
Interesting stuff. Obviously, all this stuff is very interesting. If you look at getting more behind-the-scenes information, the Netflix show is now out with WWE. And, of course, more information about the behind-the-scenes of all this is in Mark Ramondi's new book, Say Hello to the Bad Guys, How Professional Wrestling's New World Order Changed America. Get it wherever you get your books. Online at Amazon, Simon & Schuster, or like me, you get it on Audible. And Mark Ramondi from ESPN.com joined us here on 97.3 ESPN. Mark, I really appreciate making the time. I'm thoroughly enjoying the book. Keep up the great work, my man. We'll talk soon.
Anytime, Josh. Thank you so much.
Josh Hennig back here in the Dr. Squatch virtual studios here on 97.3 ESPN FM. We'll get back to your thoughts and comments on the text board next, 609-403-0973. And our final segment with Kevin Durso from ESPN.com. We'll check in with him as we get you ready. Remember, Phillies game today and tomorrow here on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 3:30 today and 6 p.m. tomorrow. You can catch the Phillies this weekend right here on your home for the Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
This is South Jersey's official home for Philadelphia Eagles football. The Eagles return to open the preseason Thursday night against the Bengals.
Farrell back. He tries to swing it out to Chase, and he's brought down for a loss by DeJean.
Oh, my. What a play by the rookie Cooper DeJean.
Listen to all the action with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick with pregame coverage starting at 6:30 and kickoff at 7:30. This is the play-by-play home of the Philadelphia Eagles. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
Listen up. The soap you shower with? It's you probably haven't even questioned what bar of soap you lather up with. Let's face it, most guys don't. But now you can upgrade your shower game with Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. I'm talking about natural, nourishing, cold-pressed, hand-cut soap for men. Men who use their hands. Men who build things. Men who catch foul balls without spilling their beer. You won't just smell good either. Your skin will be healthier and more nourished. We make our soaps with natural ingredients from the earth. Ingredients like oils, plants, goat's milk, Greek yogurt, oatmeal, shea butter, and citrus. Turn your shower game up to 11. Get ready to step out of the shower feeling alive.
Hey, this is Josh Hennig. Go to my social media and click my exclusive Dr. Squatch link for your chance to save $10 off your next order of great natural soap, deodorant, and much more. Only with Dr. Squatch.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code TAXI for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code TAXI for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code TAXI.
Actual price will depend on product and subscription plan. Featured products are compounded drug products, which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. See website for details, restrictions, and important safety information.
Want a boost in and out of the bedroom? Hims has you covered. Introducing a new 2-in-1 approach to level up your game. Tadalafil for better bedroom performance and zinc for testosterone support. Turn things all the way up and find affordable treatment options at up to 95% less than brand names at hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy.
When businesses thrive, communities score. That's why Bank of America is the official bank of FIFA World Cup here in New York, New Jersey. And our more than 280 local business specialists are ready to help your business win. What would you like the power to do? Learn more at bankofamerica.com/local business. Bank of America, official bank of FIFA World Cup 2026. Bank of America Corporation, all rights reserved.
Do Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keep coming back? Tremfya, guselkumab, may help, with rapid remission achieved at 12 weeks and lasting clinical remission at 1 year. Some even saw visible improvement of their intestinal lining at 12 weeks and 1 year. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya. Approximately 3 out of 10 patients were in endoscopic remission at 1 year, based on areas visualized on colonoscopy, which may not represent the deeper bowel layer or entire GI tract. Individual results may vary. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
This summer, get ready to relive the glory days. Because Hank Azaria and the Easy Street Band are bringing the ultimate Springsteen celebration Saturday, August 23rd to the Music Box at Borgata. Tickets are going fast. Grab yours now at Ticketmaster.com. August 23rd, the Music Box at Borgata. Hank Azaria and the Easy Street Band, a Springsteen celebration. Be there.
You're hanging with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM.
People will come, Ray.
And on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
People will most definitely come.
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
Josh Hennig back here in the Dr. Squatch virtual studios on 97.3 ESPN. Kevin Durso back with me. Obviously, we're wrapping up the show. Let's get to a couple texts before we get out of here at 609-403-0973. Texas didn't leave their name.
Okay.
So it's a little disappointing. But they said Hollywood Hogan was great. Cena was faking the heel turn last night. You know, he's going to be a bad guy. You know, the whole John Cena thing is wild because I know you're not huge in the wrestling thing, Kevin. But there's a lot of people who, as Mermani was talking about, were really mad that Cena made the heel turn.
Okay.
But I like what he did last night. He actually spun it back around because he said, I made the heel turn because of the people I was with, but they all abandoned me.
Okay.
You know, and so the idea is like the Rock's not around anymore.
Yeah.
Scott disappeared. Everyone went away from him.
Mm-hmm.
And so now he's going to be a good guy again. And, you know, you saw the crowd reaction last night. And I think that's the biggest thing about sports entertainment people don't understand. These people are performing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, And part of the reason why, we watch sports or we go to a movie or we watch pro wrestling is escapism, right?
Yeah, we want to be entertained.
Right. So, it's the crazy thing of we live in a world. Big Al from Violent, by the way. Thank you for following up with the text. But it's the idea that we live in a world where part of the reason why these guys are so integral to pop culture is because like if your favorite movie or your favorite television show or your favorite athlete, there's something about them that you identify with and you connect with, and it becomes a part of your world. You put up your favorite athlete's poster on the wall, right? Or you buy your favorite athlete's jersey or whatever it may be.
Yeah, definitely. And we see it all the time with people who attach themselves and in different ways. Like there's the stars. There's also these people that we find that aren't necessarily the biggest names that people find lovable too and latch onto. It goes all ways.
All right. So before we get out of here, I wanted to get your list. I asked you earlier in the show.
Yeah.
So we all agree Howie Roseman's number 1.
Absolutely.
Who's 2, 3, and 4 among the Philadelphia sports executives?
So when I saw that you were going to pose this question, 4 was a no-brainer. I put Daryl Morey at 4.
Why is that?
Because I just don't feel like the success is there in any way, shape, or form. I feel like there's too many mistakes, too many things that have gone wrong. Like everything with Paul George this past season, that was a problem. The kind of the way that almost everything with Embiid's being handled to a degree, that's a problem. That's the NBA is. We talked about this a little bit. The NBA is a little bit more star driven, that individualized thing. Well, that's 2 of your biggest individuals, and they're not panning out. It almost feels unfair to put a lot of it on Nick Nurse to a degree because this is the hand you're dealt as a coach anyway. So like players not being available is really not necessarily your problem as much as is having an executive who gives you more pieces that you can utilize. 2 and 3 is where I get kind of have some trouble. I kind of want to lean Dombrowski 2, Briere 3, only because Briere's vision isn't completely finished yet. It's going in a good direction. I can also make the case that Dombrowski hasn't done enough with what he's got compared to what Briere has, and that you could put Briere 2. It's hard because I think the reason I guess I say Dombrowski 2 is only because recency bias with playoffs. You're at least in that position now. You have to find a way over the hump, whereas Briere is trying to build a team that can even get into the playoffs first, let alone actually be a contender. So that maybe is the reason. But that I'm in a position where that shift could happen very quickly. That like I'm definitely higher on Briere in a long-term position than I am Dombrowski. Like Dombrowski's kind of got like better do something this year or heads may roll kind of material.
Yeah, so I kind of lean to what you're saying. My conflict is I've been very aggressive in my Dombrowski anti-takes. I'm very frustrated with him. I don't like the let me tell you about my resume and I tell you what I'm doing kind of thing.
Yeah.
That comes with him. But I do agree that Briere he just hasn't done enough.
Right.
And it's hard to put Briere too high. I do say I don't like putting Morey 4th, but I kind of have to.
Yeah.
My thing with Morey is I do give him credit. If he makes a mistake, he admits it and he rectifies it. Something that Dombrowski can learn from.
Yeah.
But like you said, Dombrowski's been to a World Series. Morey can't get out of the second round.
Exactly.
Kevin, appreciate you jumping on at Kevin_Durso on the Twitter X platform.
Appreciate you having me. This was a lot of fun.
All of his Flyers coverage, 973ESPN.com. Thanks to Mark Raimondi and Charlotte Barnes for joining us here on 97.3 ESPN. Thanks, everybody, for texting in throughout the show. Josh Hennig hanging out with you back next Saturday, 12 to 3 p.m. every Saturday right here on 97.3 ESPN. Phillies baseball at 3:30.
Sunday morning in the locker with Billy Schwein. Producer Danny Ryan joins me in the studio. The Phillies